Welcome to the first podcast of the rest of your life. It's the Giant Bombcast. It's May 11th, 2021. I'm your host, Jeff Gerstmann, joined by, God, let's shoot it around here, counterclockwise from where I'm at. Jan Ochoa, producing in the chair.
That's right. I have a chair. It's right here. I took it from my mom's office.
Nice. When that office reopens, are you going to have to switch to a standing seat?
Hell no. I'm never giving this back.
Hell yeah. That's how it...
Thanks, Mom. I love
It's your
you.
chair now.
This is my chair now. Danny O'Dwyer also sitting down.
Yeah, I'm done with standing, man. I think I might end up being here longer than I'd anticipated, so I'm going to give my legs a bit of a rest, you know what I mean?
It makes sense. Yeah, settle in. You know, it's,
Right.
it's not. I also appreciate that every few weeks you've it's a completely different angle on the room. Like there's just, are you redecorating the entire room as you go, or is it just I just want this
Just
camera
like
to be
corner
over
at
here?
a time.
I just can't help. I have obsessive compulsive disorder, and I need to move my room like at least 4 times a month. So yeah, although I've filled up the wall now, so who knows? I might want to paint this wall. So then I'm probably going to take it all down and do that. So watch this space, video viewers.
Fantastic. Jeff Bacalar is here.
Hello
for the
there.
first time.
For the first time, thank you for having me. I want to talk about chairs for a second.
Okay. Yeah.
I just
Great.
feel like the thing
Chair
that no
editor.
one's talking about. Look, everyone has to start somewhere. I am sensitive to the chair situation. Chairs are weird with me. I have a weird history with chairs. I just really would appreciate we keep that in mind when we're talking about chairs, how they stand, how they sit, how they rotate, how they go left, they go right.
Is that a gamer chair?
Just had weird luck with chairs. What am I going to say, over the years? It's not really a gamer chair. It's like can you see the logo? No. It's like a secret lab chair.
Oh god.
Yeah, but that's for game. I mean, I bought one of those secret lab chairs, and one of the armrests has split open on the side, and I've only had this thing for maybe like 6 months, and that's
Stash
yeah,
spot.
total stash spot. Yeah,
What did it? How did it split off? What do you mean? It's
like there's a seam on there's a seam on the side of it, the upholstery, like the outer layer of it, and that seam has completely split open on the armrest, and I'm not very happy about it. Honestly,
Did you have a heated gaming moment and you just got to slam it down?
My life
stabbed
is
it with a knife?
Actually, now that you mention it, I was playing a game one-handed and then working on my bally song in my spare hand
Of my people.
And,
there we go.
And then some shit went down, and now this chair, my knife drank deep of the chair's armrest, and now here we are. Speaking of drinking deep, Jason A. Striker is here. How are you doing? What's the chair life like?
Chair life is not bad. I got one of these. I don't know what the fuck brand it is. I forgot.
Is that hold meant to be there?
Downix.
Oh, yeah.
Doinks.
Dwinks? Dilfs?
Isn't
It looked like a hole too.
Dilfs.
Yeah.
Doink
Yeah.
sold you a chair?
Doink the clown. I'm not sure which version sold me the clown, but it farts whenever I sit down. I don't get it.
That's just
It
great.
does that.
That's
the
just
thing I
Griffin
learned-
putting a whoopee cushion in your chair.
Yeah,
Right.
little bonus. The
It's
thing I
so
learned with changing chairs and then changing the wheels on the chair to the like very easy glide,
rollerblade ones?
and the
Yep.
rollerblade
Oh,
ones.
nice. Did you put
But
ABEC 10s in there?
I needed it to be taller because my feet were like curving in. That was not being good for my feet. But it also has really underscored just how much of a slope there is in this part of the house where I am like constantly rolling back into this corner.
I found
over and
I've
over
worked
again.
myself into a good groove where it just stays in this little like divot. And
Yeah.
it's pretty nice.
that
now.
you made over time.
Yeah, that I've made over time.
In the
Time
floor.
out. People are they're modding the casters on their chairs. That's a thing.
Well, I
Yeah,
just pulled the
I got
wheels
rollerblade
out
wheels.
completely, and put in rollerblade wheels. Yeah,
Yeah. Put some
And
Royale
nice.
trucks on there.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
Exactly.
Like
Yes,
some-
exactly.
There's some grinding plates on that shit.
Mhm.
Hell yeah.
Remember that? What was that video game where you could ride an office chair down the hill? Remember that PlayStation 3? Right?
was that-
Oh shit.
Oh, is it Pain?
Yeah.
Pain-
Oh no, what was it? That was the office. You were like an office worker. You're like a salary man
salary
riding
man,
on an
yeah.
office chair. It was like a
Come on,
move.
chat.
It was a PlayStation Move game.
Yeah, something like that.
Shit, what the fuck?
Chat's got
Someone in chat says Kung
Chat's gotta
Fu
have it.
Rider.
Kung Fu Rider. That's it. That's
Kung
it.
Fu
Yeah.
Rider, which sounds right and is a terrible
done.
name for a product. But
I kind of dug that pain game.
It's-
That pain game was kind of fun for like a half hour.
for like I would say, was that like the first or among the first like downloadable PS3 games, like when they kind of had their launch of like
Like first party one, maybe kind of.
might have been, yeah, it was definitely the
that-
first wave, if not the first. And
Yeah.
like I don't know, like in terms of an era when like people were playing all the Flash games of people flying through the air and banging into shit. Pain was like a good blown out realization of that, but I just I don't know. Pain I feel like was good for 45 minutes or something like that, and I don't know that I ever
That's
touched it
saying
again. I guess so, but I feel like they added a lot to it over time. There was always like Sony putting out
DLC,
other
yeah.
like we've added some more stuff to Pain, and you're just like, why? What the hell is okay? Fine.
Throw them over here now.
Yeah. I mean, well,
can
that's the
throw a
game that lives and
lady.
dies by its levels. Yeah. Yeah. It's like now you can throw a dog,
Oh.
but it's a guy in a dog
Peter won't
costume,
like
so
that.
don't get mad about it.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's just a guy. It's just the guy. It's the same guy. It's Pain Man. Yeah, Painman as they're well known. So, we're here. This is Tuesday. It's the Giant Bombcast. Obviously, some things have changed and some things have not, and we're still here doing our thing. And we kind of have more to say about the size and shape of the website going forward here over the month of May. If you'll have watched last week, we're kind of undergoing some renovations around the edges here, which basically translates into a whole lot of meetings and
Secret
and that
meetings
sort
are
of
taking
stuff.
place.
Fun.
That's right. Yeah, no, it's a lot. It's a lot like this, except I don't have this light on most of the time.
Oh,
This is meeting
that's-
Jeff.
Yep, that's meeting Jeff.
This is
That's
podcast.
awesome.
This is
Oh, yeah.
professional
There we
podcast,
go.
Jeff.
Way more
So,
defined.
Yeah, exactly. Video games. Let's talk about them. Returnal. Okay, what a disaster Returnal seemed to go through. No, let's play whatever that is. I don't know.
It kind of worked.
Yeah.
It's a nice bed. Yeah.
Underwater level. Underwater games only.
That's right.
Gonna have to redo that. for
Underwater
the
rhymes
podcast.
about underwater games.
You don't want to be underwater in Returnal. It's well, at least at the stage I'm at right now, it just keeps being stuff underwater that they want me to get, Jeff, and then when I go to get it, I die. And I'm like, why would you do me like that, video game?
Right.
How smart.
Yeah. It's like, is it either did I get some kind of terrible roll on the procedural generation of this level that it decided to put items down there, or is there a scuba tank in level 4? And I'm gonna be
There
like,
is.
Yeah. So Returnal kind of went through the ringer over the past few weeks here where they patched it,
Yeah.
and then the patch started screwing up people's saves, in some cases beyond repair.
Oh,
And so they pulled the patch and posted on Twitter and said like, hey, don't launch the game for a bit. So I just looked at it and went like, okay, well, I'm just going to not play Returnal for a few days here and whatever. They sorted it out pretty quickly. Shitty situation. But they sorted that out, and then I got back into Returnal and played like 2 runs of it, and it was like the magic was gone for me in a weird way, where it was like trying to get back into it was this feeling of just like, I don't know, this other games kind of coming out, and I want to play some other stuff. And yeah, I don't know. Danny, you've been playing some Returnal. Okay, I guess actually my question for the group here, because I think most of us have been playing Returnal. Has anyone beat level 3, the 3rd biome? Okay.
No, sir.
So that is the thing I want to do before I kind of make a decision one way or the other. It sounds like that there's some crazy shit around the middle of that game.
Oh,
They've said
Crazy
that
shit.
they said ahead of time that there were 6 biomes. And then they also said when they sent it out to reviewers, like, hey, there's more to do after you finish it, so maybe you might want to go back in. But I'm having trouble. So I have gotten the second boss down to an inch of its damn life, like multiple times, and fucked up. Usually it's like I'm trying to nail the like active reload, and then in the middle of doing that and focusing on that part of the UI, I then get hit and wiped out by something. It's like, damn it.
Killer.
That active reload is not that active. It's not. Maybe it should be a different button. Something,
You
right?
I'm not sure if it needs to be there.
Yeah, I mean, it's quick enough, but yeah, I just feel like I am handcuffed in a way that is not fun when that little, quick hourglass comes up. I'm just like, I don't know what to do.
Yep.
Yeah, I've spent my last couple of runs trying to just get way better at doing the active reload. And as a result, I think that's why I died at the boss a couple of times, because I was so focused on nailing that every time. Because if you're adrenaline level 1, I think you're doing more damage if you nail that active reload. So it's not just a faster reload, it's also, hey, you're going to do a little bit more damage if you're doing that stuff. So those sorts of fights, in that boss fight specifically, I'm just like, yeah, I want to get these shots in and take care of business. But yeah, I don't know. It's that same feeling of like I keep uncovering new items, and then the new items are not that interesting in terms of changing up the way I play the game. The perks on weapons that I'm now unlocking, most of them and stuff like that, are fine, but it's just run to run, the game doesn't feel different enough for me as I would want out of like a rogue light, and I think that's kind of been making me bounce off. Like I'll get to that point where, especially like you'll have like one good long run where you really just wring everything out of those first 2 levels, try to gear up for that boss fight, fail, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that again. No, I am not going to do that again. I'm going to go do something else.
I'm in the same spot where it's just the self-motivation for it's tricky, because like there's a couple of things. Like one, it's not like a roguelike where you get better like for free. Like there's a limited moveset, and just by playing the game you sort of close that skill gap. Like you are actually, it's a difficult game, right? It's challenging. You're meant to be learning how to play it, and all these subsystems and figuring out active real, all that sort of stuff. So it doesn't come for free. And then the length of the runs, and I think this is where the whole conversation around the save game stuff comes in, where like I find it hard, like you, to commit to knowing it's going to take me that long, and also knowing just how roguelikes work, that there's a certain element of the randomness of the stuff that I'm going to get, which is ultimately going to kind of make a lot of the decision of whether or not I'm going to beat a boss, depending on how the stuff I got the way through. So I'm in the same spot where it's hard to commit to it. And I think it didn't help that Resident Evil 8 came out this week, which is a game which is like so determined to get you to keep playing it. Like that Returnal this week, for me at least, felt like a harder game to sort of want to play, which seems weird because I enjoy playing it. It's a really well-made game and it's very interesting. But yeah, it's not like, Spelunky, where I'll sit down and play a roguelike for 5 minutes and end up playing 2 hours. It's like the opposite.
Yeah, you're right. I think that conversation around the save stuff is dumb in a lot of ways. I guess it's a lot of the same people. It feels like it's a lot of the same people who are just like, they shouldn't put easy modes in games, or stop asking for games to be flexible to appeal to multiple types of players, or whatever. Yeah, I mean, that game, I think if it had a way to set that checkpoint and just like, I need to just stop, I need to go to the bathroom, there's a knock at the door, there's, like those sorts of things that are gonna just happen while you might be playing a game. Or hey, I need to go to bed because this run went too long and I want to pick it up in the morning. I think they should have put something in there to facilitate that. And it sounds like that's something they are going to do. I mean, they've been on Twitter being like, "Hey, we hear you.
You want this?"
But also, yeah.
And like suspend mode is basically an informal kind of like not very safe way of doing that. So it's
right.
Like
it is pretty wild that they're like, just keep your console on.
In a world where the rest mode works and is reliable 100% of the time, then that's fine.
Totally.
But it's not, and even when working as intended, you'll have situations where like, oh, I have it set to install firmware, and so it did that, and then it shut my game down, and stuff like that. So it's not a good situation. And then on top of that, you've got a game that, and this has not happened to me, but I definitely know enough people that have talked about that game crashing quite a bit. So having a run end because it crashed is just like
killer. Oh my god.
like, man, that's like some uninstall it type stuff. But I really like the feel of that game. Like there are a lot of things about it I really love. And so like I kind of want to almost put it down and see what they're gonna do with it if they do more than just like, 'cause, I think like the way they've been hinting, it seems like they will eventually get to adding some kind of save that isn't just the PS5 rest mode. And so that's a big step, but I wonder if what else they'll do. And if they'll find ways to make it more appealing or more varied or something like that. Because I like what's there, but it's been like banging your, like the process of getting better at a roguelite of like, closing that skill gap, getting better with the tools and all that sort of stuff, ideally is fun every time until you make progress. And I think at a point where it's like, I'm getting better, but also the game is like a little too repetitive. I'm seeing too many of the same areas, too many of the same little side areas, like all that sort of stuff is just, it's not enough. So I think if it had a little bit more variety per run, a little bit, like we said, I think that would be enough to get me to play another 30 hours of it right now. But it's just not there yet. So like if they're out there kind of saying, hey, we're thinking about different things we want to do with this, whether it's the save stuff or whatever, like I kind of want to maybe wait and see what they do.
Yeah, it feels like just having come off doing the Hades series, right, that we sort of did for the past couple of years.
Yeah.
So much of the conversations with those guys was like, oh, you need your audience because you learn so much more about your own game once it's out there. And this is, I think, a good example of that. I'm not, disparaging to Housemarque or whatever. They know what they're doing and they've made a really cool game. I really enjoy a lot of aspects of it. But you can tell already, right, that like everything you're saying about like it being just a little bit too repetitive and like and the runs are a little bit too long and the save stuff, like I'm hearing that from a lot of people. And I'm also in the position where I'm kind of like Cyberpunk, like I'm just going to wait until they're kind of done with it, right? So it almost is a good use case for like, early access can be really helpful in refining games, especially games like these that are so like about inches rather than meters, you know what I mean? Like it's just small changes can make a massive difference. So hopefully they'll get there,
Yeah. I really hope so for sure. Because man, there's so much. There are so many things about it. Just the controller feel, like all the vibration stuff is really well done. Like I like the look of it.
Sound.
The questions it sets up with Celine and the house and all that stuff, I think are interesting, and I hope the answers are good too. But like, there are a lot of reasons to want to keep playing, but it's just kind of. A game I did not play. Resident. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, like, this is the first time I have had a very complicated relationship with a game in a way where I haven't really like thought it out into the point where I'm like, now I kind of do agree. Maybe I will wait and see where that goes, what they wind up doing with it. Part of me in a weird way feels like that is somehow betraying my, first experience with it. But like, no, I want to see where it goes. I don't think that's a game that, necessarily is going to change to so much that it is unrecognizable, right? Like that doesn't seem like that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, to me, like I can kind of rationalize it and just be like, yeah, I'll let that sit around. And like you were getting to, when you've got that and you've got Resident Evil 8 installed, you're sort of just like, I'm going to fucking play Resident Evil 8 right now. This is what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Some crystals in that baby.
Yeah. Gotta get some more box baby going on there.
So seems like Resident Evil 8. Seems like Resident Evil 8's real good is what I'm hearing.
Oh my god. I'm so surprised.
I love it.
I completed it. Yeah, it's so I couldn't put it down. That game is so stupid in like all the best ways. It's so dumb. I don't know. It's like there's like an inverse relationship between this and like, the first and second, probably up to the fourth Resident Evil, where like they took themselves very seriously, and it takes itself seriously in its lore, but there's so much nonsense going on in its game. The protagonist is nonsense. Excellent. The characters are so out of this world, esoteric, silly. Like at one stage, one of the boss fights, one of the guys refers to Chris as a boulder punching asshole, like, which is a Resident Evil 5 meme.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
this game is very
Weird.
It's very weird
Yeah.
and it's very fun. I
It's
absolutely
a circus, man. It's a damn
Yes.
circus. This game has got like 7 felt like it was taking itself incredibly serious, and this game is just what the hell? Have fun in our weird ass funhouse, ridiculous, world. And I mean, that is why I love this game so much, because this loop that it does with like, get me the little items, get me the keys, get me all the things, let me combine all the shit, let me find all your fun little labyrinthine sort of puzzly, marble junk. And I don't know why I can carry gigantic crystal torsos, but I'm carrying them all. My fucking hands get chopped off and get inserted right back on, and that's okay. And no one even skips a beat. And I don't know, maybe Ethan's a fucking ghost himself. Who fucking knows? It doesn't matter. This game is too much fun to play. I don't know. I was thinking last night when there's sort of like these big chapter marks you reach in this game, and I finished the first one, and I was just sort of like, I could play this game for 4 years straight, I feel like, and not get bored of like the cycle that it does. Like, it is
never
so satisfying to me.
There's always something. It's always feeding. Like,
Yeah.
So many of the things that I associate with this series is like, one, Resident Evil games can be difficult, right? You have to be really present in them, especially when it comes to the combat. Like, and you can't help but be thinking about 4 when you're playing this game, because obviously it's also set in a weird sort of, European hamlet, although this seems to be probably somewhere near Romania instead, as opposed to Spain. But it's like a similar kind of look to it. But those games are, you need to be like actively involved. You're thinking a lot about ammo conservation, that type of thing. I don't find this game particularly difficult. I don't find the puzzles difficult. I don't find it particularly scary either for like a horror game. 7 I found scarier.
Yeah.
It's constantly giving you like little jobs to do, like puzzles. The pacing is fantastic. It goes from combat into exploration into story stuff, and then there's all these like sub quests. I found myself doing so much exploration. It also, you can tell what you're going to do next all the time, which I feel like in these games you never really know how long they're going to be or what you're going to do. But they set up like the village at the start, and then when you go to the castle, you get the sense that you're going to go back to the village because there's so much stuff that's like inaccessible. So you're kind of like, oh, I'll probably get back there. And then they basically set up a sort of a multi-boss scenario where you're going to go see this person, this person, this person, this person. So you know that the game is going to be sort of like X length, which really helps with pacing too. And what I thought was really extraordinary from all the pre-release stuff is that like all that Lady Dimitrescu stuff is like pretty early. Like there's loads more game going on in that game. The castle stuff is like basically the sort of main second chapter of it, but there's loads more going on.
That's the thing I definitely heard was like, for all it seems like Capcom maybe accidentally stumbled into her becoming this like focal point of people's early excitement about it, that there was like, oh, she's actually super not like a major part of the game. That's why we're showing her in the pre-release marketing, because we don't want to show the crazy shit. Whoops. Everyone loves the tall lady, but
and she probably is, like, in terms of presence in the story, she is definitely one of the bigger characters, even if maybe she doesn't hold as much screen time as some of the others later on. But like her family, so to speak, like the other characters that sort of exist, like you may have seen them in, there's like a creepy doll looking thing and a weird kind of slug. They're all like, all the characterization and the lines and the dialogue is so good and so silly. Like the dollhouse area, which I've heard from people, I don't care about the dollhouse stuff, but it's quite PT-ish, that level. Each level also like has basically its own aesthetic. Like the Lady Dimitrescu stuff is like, the sort of, fancy royal castle type thing you're used to Resident Evil. There's like a dollhousey one, there's an outside one, there's a more factory one, there's a village. Like there's loads of variety in terms of the type of game you're playing too. Like some of the areas you're in are very combat heavy, especially near the end, and then some of the areas you're in, your guns are taken away for like an hour or longer. So it's so cool. It's like, it feels like kind of 5 little mini games, like almost. I don't want to. This is going to sound like I'm overselling it a little bit, but in the way that PT was a really fun experience, but was like kind of a limited amount of time. Like you play it for like, whatever, 2 or 3 hours and you kind of got it, or an hour or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what they all feel like, mini little sort of experiences that are actually quite different from each other, but all play perfectly good. Like it's one of the best paced games I've played in forever.
Yeah. Now, Jason, you're a horror expert.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
Tell.
No,
Say.
I'm actually scared shitless of most horror movies.
I mean, I think that makes you the perfect expert for that. So you've played some of this. What do you think so far? Is it freaking you out?
Yeah, it's freaking me out a little bit. But I definitely like the characterization of these guys. What I like in horror movies are like slasher films, and that big menacing kind of bulking character, like Jason Voorhees or something like that. You get that in this game a little bit more than in 7. They did a really good job of making these personalities kind of larger than life and stuff, and I appreciate that a lot more than just the creepy shit that was going on in 7. Those dials were, they've got the pattern right, I think, but they're just dialing things a little bit differently. Like it's not as scary. They're dialing up personality and such. I think it's really cool. I just gotta wait until my son goes to bed before I can play it. So I haven't gotten that far yet, but so far I'm really digging it.
Does this feel like, is this meant to be a sequel to 7, or is this tied into? So I kind of didn't really play. I didn't play too much of 7, and I'm not like the biggest Resident Evil fan. So this might be a crazy question, but like, is 8 kind of more connected? Because I saw like Chris Redfield and stuff like that. You mentioned earlier, like those characters and stuff like that. So is it more tied to the previous games in the line? Because or is it really just a direct? Is it also a direct sequel to 7?
Yes.
Is it kind of bring it all
they
together?
Even do like they even do like a, hey, you want to see what happened last time, like kind of thing, where when you watch that video, which I did because I can't remember anything that I've done ever, and they lead the sort of end of the summary of 7 right into 8. There's a couple interesting things. If you played the game a certain way in 7, it makes literal no sense in 8 right away because of people who are around, but whatever. Resident Evil is a game that can get away with that kind of stuff. But yeah, it is very much, you are the same. You're playing the same character.
Okay, but would you have preferred if they had just fully Mass Effected it and like, okay, because and have you import your 7 save to make it make perfect sense with whatever? Would that make sense here? You're talking about that maybe if you played 7 a certain way, it didn't make sense. Did that take you out of it? Do you want player choice to matter across a trilogy of Resident Evil games?
Yeah, because it's weird, right? Because there's stuff that happened in 7, like even at the start, like if you play a certain way, things happen to him and stuff like that. So even like starts of that recap mightn't match up exactly with what you wanted. But I think Ethan Winters is like one of the like best protagonists in video games modern history, because he is the stupidest protagonist. Like you never, there's a tweet going around at the moment which is a picture of him, which goes to show you how little they like show you of him. He's not on the box. Like the face on the box is Chris. It's who's like only he's not in it all that much, right? He's just such a doofus. He doesn't see, he's so sincere. Yeah. He doesn't really seem to like ever grasp what's going on. He both finds it weird and not weird enough, the stuff that happens to him. And it's like he ends up being like the sort of like the comic, like he's the person in a horror movie who won't just run out the door, but like you're controlling him. And it makes for like incredibly funny, stupid situations and like dialogue with the bosses and stuff like that. But in terms of it's a direct sequel to 8, but it also like this goes the whole way back to before first game by the end. Like they do a lot of planting of seeds, wrapping up, tying up loose ends. Like they're very much interested in the grander Resident Evil lore in a way that I think I wasn't maybe expecting so much, and I won't get
That's
into
cool.
it obviously, but
Yeah,
so it's like, in a way, it feels like a sort of a best of, because there's like, there's a reference to 5 in it, and it feels a bit like 4, and the mansion kind of feels like 1, and then it has like the nemesis, I guess just like it did with the remakes, right, where you have somebody, Dimitrescu is following you throughout the castle, and her daughters, I think that you can have fights with them anywhere, or like maybe 2 or 3 of them, because they sort of like are wasp ladies that fly around the house. So in a weird way, it feels like a sort of a hall of fame for Resident Evil.
Yeah.
It is. It's like an anthology, like sort of thing in a lot of ways. But you're right. He is dumb as rocks, man.
It's so funny. Oh my god.
He just nothing phases him. Like the worst imaginable shit happens in front of his eyes, and he's just like, he's like, oh man. Oh, he really is just the point. He's so dumb. He's like a human husk. It's ridiculous.
Like I won't say anything about it, but basically the grand mission that you're doing in this game is maybe the most fucked up thing I've ever seen. And and when it dawns on him, like he is both completely like appalled by what's going on, and then also completely accepts it and like goes, all right, I guess that's what I'm doing. And it's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's almost like they took like 2 different people and just sort of like layered them into one Ethan Winters in a weird way, where they're just like they sort of picked random lines of dialogue. It's amazing. You're right. When he first discovers what's going on from the shopkeeper, who we should talk about the shopkeeper.
Oh my god, best shopkeeper since 4. He's basically he even says the line. Okay. He says, "What do you buy?" and he jokes and says, "Oh, one of my old friends used to say that." Yeah.
When he finds out what's really going on, he's just like, "Who would do this?" Okay, I'm in. Like it's so dumb, but it's great.
Me, I guess.
It's great. I love this game. I love this game. I really do.
Yeah, right. It does a lot to make you like it. Like it really wants you. It feels like an answer to a lot of the problem because with 7, right? Because I remember I went back and played 7. I think it was maybe back in February or something, right? When I started coming on here, and I didn't complete it, but I ended up watching. I got maybe like halfway through, and then ended up watching videos to see it through the end. But it had that like what Jason said. They pull back the fear, the horror, and they raise up the personalities, which I think people really liked. A lot of those characters in 7, like the family, are completely bananas, right? So like more screen time for them. It feels like this game could not have existed without 7. Like it's just a much more confident version of that game.
Yeah, that's interesting. Nice. I love horror. I love it so much, especially in games. And 7, I will say, like, scared the shit out of me. That is just like a straight up horror movie. That game.
Yeah.
And I think I had, sort of recommended it to a lot of people who were not happy with me, where I was just sort of like shaking off the horror. Like most people got to the
whatever,
point,
play it in VR. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Like most people got to the point where like until that cop gets the shovel in the face, and you're just like, and I'm just like, yeah, you know what? For people who don't play a lot of video games, maybe that is too much. I don't, whatever it is, it's pretty gory. But this one threads the needle real nicely. I mean, you're gonna get your body horror, you're gonna get your fills there, but man, something about 7 is just unachievable again. I feel like with where they went with the sort of the horror meter, but this is that perfect combination for me. It is still creepy. Like I'll play all these games with the lights off in the dark. Because that's what I do. And there's still plenty of moments in 8 where I'm just like, okay, that stuff's fun. And if you want that, you're gonna get it still for sure.
Nice. How long? Danny said you finished it. About how long would you say the game is?
It gives you a timer because it's pretty speedrun happy, and I think it was 8.5 hours. I've seen other people do it a little bit shorter. And actually, I probably, if I knew I was near the end, I might have done a bit more. I had still some stuff to do. Like the side questy stuff in that game is a lot of fun. Like there's a lot of really interesting, clever exploration and puzzles. Like, there's these, Bacalar mentioned a second ago, the weird like ball games you play. They're like those tilty games where you're trying to get the screwball scramble, where you're trying to get them through there's like one of them in each house. There's all these like, you'll collect a lot of stuff that you sell to Duke, the shop merchant guy, and but then there's other things that are like combinable, so you can find, like, I'm not going to sell it to him yet, because if I find the other side of this
Right.
this doll and I'll put the head on the doll, then it's worth like 4 times as much. So you sort of like, it does a really good job of getting you to want to do more exploring, which, like, again, 7 was so scary that I was just like trying to get through it, whereas in this game, like, it does a lot of stuff. Like, I remember there was this one thing that happened where every once in a while you'll find an area and it does that thing on the map where it'll mark something in blue if you've searched it fully, which is just wonderful, right? And then red if it's not. And then I found like a room that was off to the side, and I'm like, okay, I'll go in this room and I'll go get some stuff. And I found my way in with a puzzle. And then on the way out, I remember thinking, loads of games, whenever you find something that's hidden behind an area, on the way out, they'll throw a couple more baddies at you, just to kind of like mess with you. And this never does that. It's always like rewarding you for doing stuff, and it rarely comes with like a cost to it. Like, if you end up entering an area that was optional, that has a lot of enemies in it, and you use a load of ammo, chances are when you're in there, you're going to find a lot of ammo, or they're going to drop stuff that you can craft into ammo. Like, it does a really good job of never punishing you for wanting to do more of it, which I don't feel like 7 did either.
Yeah, exploration is encouraged. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's cool. That's
cool.
you. I don't know that I have ever played a Resident Evil game to completion, but
Really?
this sounds pretty. Yeah. Like I like have touched all of them, but every single time I'm just like, whatever, man. Like, I think Code Veronica was probably the one I played the most of, weirdly enough.
It's a good one.
Can we say one caveat to you before?
Sure.
And I think, several of us here are parents. There is some stuff here that's a little bit tricky with young children. I'll just say it's a bit so go forth with caution. I mean, they're pretty upfront about some of it. It's early as well. Yeah.
There's a lot of front-loaded malarkey.
Yeah, there's some carrying children at the start. I mean, the guys did the quick look last week, so you can see some of that. But
It's good looking baby.
It is. It's the animations in this game are awesome, and also it's a beautiful baby.
Well, if it's a beautiful baby, then I'm in. But yeah, I mean, I think it was, for those first few games, it was just like the tank control fixed camera stuff was like, I mean, for me, it was just like, I played Alone in the Dark. Those games were fine. I don't care about Resident Evil. And then when 4 came out, I actually fucking hated the way it controlled and all the shooting and all that stuff, for as influential as it ended up being. And then, people really seemed to not like 5 and 6. And I remember, I think it was 6. Well, yeah, I remember 6 was them trying to be like, we're back, baby. Like all of that was with the year that Capcom had people go to Rome to interview producers and stuff. Like, they used to do a yearly event, and it was a different place. One was Hawaii.
Captivate? Was that
Captivate?
What
Yes,
Captivate.
Captivate. And the year they did it in Rome, I remember that was their whole thing was just like, man, we are getting back to what matters. We got a mansion, and it was like I think one of the slides was like, zombies are back. It's like one of those type deals. And man, that one super shit the bed. But
awful.
6 is the only one I've never finished.
Yeah.
And I think that's the right move. Unless I lose some sort of bet in the future, that's probably going to stay that
7 and 8 are completely different beasts.
I mean, that's the thing. It's cool that they seem to have found a new gear for it.
Notions of what Resident Evil is or was. Don't worry about it. Going fresh.
And you don't. I don't know how you guys feel about this, because I didn't actually complete 7. I played half it and sort of like did the cheater way, but I don't feel like you need to have played 7 to enjoy this. I keep having people ask me like, do you need to? And I think the recap is completely fine, and then get into it. Like,
if you play 8 and then you're like, I wish maybe I peed a little while I was playing this, then you go back and you play 7, because that's what that game's gonna do to you. But Jason, you're right. There is like a new language Resident Evil speaks now. Like there's a new vocabulary there, and it is the best the game has ever been, in my opinion. And that's why I am so about I there, after I played 7, I was just like, I want this every once a year, please. Like,
Yeah.
do this for me. And now with 8, I feel like I'm probably close to halfway through. Like, I would like it again and again. And I feel
They
like we're
found the
gonna
gear.
maybe.
They found the
This
gear.
is it.
Like,
And you
this is
gotta
just-
imagine like an RE4 remake is maybe around the corner, in the style
Well, it
of
just
2
came out
and
on.
3.
It's out on Quest, right? I mean, they just did a VR, or is it out yet?
Mm.
There's RE4 for Oculus Quest is coming, right?
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's coming.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like that's probably sooner than later. But yeah, sign me up.
Yeah,
right.
actually, no, I'm not going to say anything. That's future.
That's it.
Yeah.
Jan,
Yes.
do you feel the same way about new Pokemon Snap? Have they found a new gear for Pokemon Snap? Do you need one of these once per year? Back when that first game came out, I was the one saying they need to make more Pokemon Snap. There was a famous GameSpot forum, famous amongst the people at GameSpot, I guess. Maybe not famous in the grand sense, but someone either sent us in an email or posted to the forums or something like that was like, we need more Pokemon Snap, more Safari, less track.
Yeah.
That was what this person wanted out of Pokemon Snap, was like more freedom, like not on rails, get out there and take your pictures. And so in my head, for the past 40 years, however long it's been between those games, I've just been like, when they get around and making another Pokemon Snap one of these days, you're just gonna be able to wander around and take pictures. And then that's super not the game they made, but
No.
also
It's weird.
it seems
It's weird.
cool. Like I have not. So I feel bad. I've been trying to get some time with Pokemon Snap in for the past week or so, but been a little busy. But you've played some more of it.
Yes.
How you liking it?
So the new Pokemon Snap, aptly titled New Pokemon Snap, real original. It's exactly like the original Pokemon Snap, and if you were a fan of that and you like that formula of on-rail shooter, but instead of shooting Pokemon, you're taking shots at Pokemon, then this is exactly that, because you're no longer limited to the original 151. This is Pokemon spanning across all 8 generations now.
Anything can happen now.
Anything can happen. And the thing that further exemplifies that is now, I feel like the original game you could probably finish in one sitting. This one, oddly enough, there's a lot more grinding involved. So almost each level has a day and night version of the level, and then on top of that, each level has a research level associated with it. So if you take enough pictures of the Pokemon in one level, you can boost your research level to the next tier, and there, at the new tier, new Pokemon will pop up, or new behaviors for some of the Pokemon, like, damn, where's that Grookey at? But you get to level 3 of like, oh shit, I don't care about that Grookey anymore. There's a legendary right there.
I will always care about that Grookey.
I will always care about that Grookey.
I did it all for the Grookey.
Never forgotten.
Oh no.
But it has like all the same
Title.
has all the same tools as the original game. You can still bonk Pokemon with apples or fluff fruit. Oh, okay. So the mess up thing with the fluff fruit, right? They label it in both games of like, yeah, you could feed the Pokemon, you can lure the Pokemon in to get a little closer shot. There is a level, and there's been a video circulating around Twitter about this. There's a volcano level where a Graveler, and a Graveler is basically a medium-sized
Like rock,
boulder
right?
with 4 arms, and it's climbing the side of a volcano, and there's lava beneath it. You can take your apples and just hurl them at this Graveler. And then I think this might be the first game where you could probably kill a Pokemon.
Wow.
Murder that Pokemon. I've seen a video of this. Yeah. You throw the apples or whatever at him, and he falls to his death.
To his
Like
death.
nothing comes up.
There's no Pokemon Center for that.
He just dies.
But I mean, he's made of rocks, right? He's gonna. I mean, surely
Rocks melt.
That's how you transform.
That's lava.
You got to turn that guy into a like a lava man.
Listen, I'm no
Maybe you
expert
just,
in
you just need to
lava.
get your research level higher, and then if you put him in the lava, he's gonna come out as I'm Gigantamax lava dude.
That's how creation works, right?
Yes.
God just threw apples at everyone. Hey, maybe Anyway, let's not get biblical.
I mean, if you want like the Pokemon Snap offshoot, like Bible version, where you're just like on a track riding through stories from the Bible, and you're just like, I threw this and then turned around and then turned into a pillar of salt. It was great.
To catch the 12 apostles, I think. In that one.
Oh boy, ditch one of them. One of them can't.
Judas, we did.
Yeah. I was gonna say Peter, but anyway. But you have similar tools, so you have something similar to the Pokemon Flute from the first game, but you also have a scan, which is really neat. There's no cooldown on it, and the scan just kind of like around the area and shows points of interest, whether there's like an alternate route you can go through, or where Pokemon are hiding, because there's a lot more foliage in this one. And I should also add that, Pokemon has a weird tracker record of not looking the best. I think some of the best looking Pokemon games have been actually the Pokken games, the fighting ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I guess because a lot of this is pre-rendered stuff and choreographed movements, they can take more time actually making the Pokemon look good. Because, God, during certain parts of Sword and Shield, that game got single-digit frames. But it's nice to see the Pokemon in whatever environments they would be. You'll get different Pokemon during the day and night. And, of course, you'll go to different types of biomes. So you'll get a snow one, a volcano one, a jungle, underwater stuff, and you'll have the appropriate Pokemon. And similar to the first game, there'll be a bunch of hidden stuff where you'll literally be running a level several times, throwing fruit, playing your flute, trying to get something else to trigger. And I'm kind of okay with that. My partner's been playing through it, and she's kind of getting frustrated about that aspect of it, about having to grind through stuff, and that a lot of it is just not communicated, right? If you play the first game, you have to look out for all these little things and just keep messing with the environment. Yeah. But I could see someone picking this up and having a hard time. The motion controls are actually really good with this too. So you could just you move your Switch around and line up the shots. The thing that kind of bums me out though is that it's been however many years since the original Pokemon Snap, and I just don't want to be on rails.
You want more Safari and less track. I get it. Right. I get it. We all get it.
Like I want to be
like I've always wanted like a Bug Snacks version of Pokemon Snap where I actually had to do some sort of thing to get them out to pop out or something.
Wasn't that called Africa? Isn't that game?
Yeah.
Was Pikachu in that?
No.
Yeah. I think it was DLC.
So I wish there was a different element besides riding in your cart, and they give you the option to like fast forward through the track as you progress through the game. But I just wish that was a thing like earlier in that they let you do, because God, you're playing the same levels pretty quickly if you're not getting your research points on the up and up. The other thing that should be mentioned is that similar to the first game, this Pokemon Snap, the world of Pokemon Snap does not like art. This does not like my rule.
They haven't gotten any better. They haven't gotten any better with that. That was actually my next question, because that was one of the most frustrating things about that game was taking some beautiful photos and the professor being like, this motherfucker ain't in the center.
Exactly. Like, so the funny thing was, like, my partner was approaching. He was like, okay, I got to line up the shot of this Pichu. All right, it's looking there. Click. Ooh, chef's kiss. Beautiful. And then she gets to the grading part, and it's like, the professor's like, it's 1 star. Thanks for trying, I guess.
What are the like metrics they're using?
So you need the Pokemon to be in the center of the frame. It needs to look at you. It needs to like be big in the frame, and you get bonus points if there's other Pokemon. This rewards.
And then
nothing.
like if it's like emoting, or if you throw a ball at it and it like freaks out or does something cool, that's like better too, right?
Yeah. If you get it like in action. But man, like I'll have some killer shots, y'all, of some Bidoofs, some
silhouettes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like I got a Ducklet talking to its mom, and then I was like, wow, this captures.
That only happens like once a year.
Yeah, exactly. This captures the duality of man, and like this will be a picture that'll spark generations. Put this in a museum or whatever.
National Geographic, maybe.
Exactly. But Professor Mir doesn't want any of that. So and you know, I feel like if they did make Pokemon Snap in like an annual series, like some of the other Pokemon games coming out every other year, I feel like I would have gotten really, really tired of the Rails format. But I guess as of right now, it's okay. I'm having fun. I'm having fun. It's a lot of neat stuff of just seeing Pokemon do their thing. There is one giant one at the beginning of the game that was like, wow, that's not a Gigantamax. There's stuff going on in the Lentil region. Don't eat these beans.
Whoa.
Whoa. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to messing with that, even though it kind of sounds like it is the same game, and everything you're describing are some of the same problems I had with the first game.
Yeah.
But it's been long enough that I'm like, whatever. I'm totally. Though I mean, you know, like as a person who liked Pokemon when there was only 151 of them, you saying that it's got all of them in it, I'm like, great. That means there's gonna be a bunch of assholes in it I don't recognize. I just want to take pictures of coughings all day.
Jeff, you'll be jazzed if and when you eventually meet Pumuku. It's a little amoeba-looking thing, and its tongue is like a hand.
Oh,
okay.
Great.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Best of both worlds, right there. That's a real people pleaser.
It's what you want, I guess.
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
what
I
you
guess
want.
it's the thing you didn't realize you wanted it until you see it, and you're like, you know what? Wreckfest
This'll
is out on the
work.
PlayStation 5.
I was also hoping that there'd be some tie-in to some store of like, all right, bring your Switch or bring your phone in to this store. You could print out your photos like they had at Blockbusters, but no dice, man.
It's, you know,
That's Blockbuster's fault, not Pokemon's fault.
Exactly. All these people out here thinking that like it's quaint, that like reminiscing about Blockbuster when Blockbuster was the worst fucking business in the world when it was around. But at least they could let you print out Pokemon photos. That's
True.
But I guess like that's, you know, you can hit the photo button on the Switch and then post that to Facebook, which isn't that just the new going to Blockbuster is visiting Facebook.
Yeah, that's where I rent all my videos.
Yeah,
and getting my popcorn from Facebook.
Exactly. Wreckfest out on PlayStation 5, part of the PS Plus lineup for the month of May. I checked some of this out. Danny, you checked some of this out. It's nice to have a console version of Wreckfest that actually runs well and does the stuff that Wreckfest is good at.
Yeah, right. I think we talked about this a couple of months back because I was dilly-dallying with the PS4 version on PS5, and it just didn't. The load times were bad, frame rate wasn't great, everything, lighting was a bit, you know, because the PC stuff, because that crew is a Bugbear, is it, who do that stuff?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
They've always kind of been like tech savvy, right? Like they're physicsy based driving games that always kind of look good and have nice, you know, because they did Flat Out, didn't they?
Yeah,
before this
that was
was
them.
next
Yeah.
car game. So they've always kind of been that way, and the PS5 version, it's solid, right? Frame rate's great, load time's good,
totally.
Lighting's really nice. I love it.
Yeah, and since it's PS Plus right now, there are a bunch of people playing online, so you can find Derby servers up and running and just crash into people for a while. And
bigger lobbies too, I think. They're 24 now because of the PS5.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people, there are a lot of people who really like that game, who have been playing since it was on early access as next car game. But I do also feel like there's a lot of people who have bounced off driving games that this might hit that sweet spot, right? Because it's kind of like, it's not quite a Destruction Derby game, really, and it's not like a Forza. It's not taking itself that seriously. I mean, you can drive like sofa cars in this thing, you know?
Yeah, it's like weird. It's county fair ass racing type stuff. You know, you're driving on figure 8 tracks and crashing into each other, even in the races and stuff. And it's, you know, I feel like it's kind of like the closest we get to Destruction Derby, the PlayStation 1. Like it's the closest we've gotten to that in a really long time. And I think a lot of people probably also bounced off it because it just had technical requirements. Either you had a really good PC, and it finally did come to console. I remember it got delayed like real close to release or something. And then when it came out, you're like, this is not nearly as good as it was on PC. But even then, you have to have a good ass PC. So now if you happen to have a modern ass console, you can get that experience. So that's kind of awesome. Yeah, they got a season pass, but they have 2 season passes, but it's all cars. I don't know if I'm gonna.
Really?
Yeah, it looks like it's just like a car pass type thing of
Any novelty cars, because it's all done. It's the funny stuff like the school buses and the what they have riding mowers and stuff like that.
right.
Like,
I don't know what unlocks in the main game and what is on the season pass, but I assume you get some of each in both places. But yeah, there's a lot
Sweet.
of goofy shit that they put in that game.
The mower, you can do that in like Destruction Derby 2. Please, can you do that?
I believe so.
Yeah.
the mower,
Like
which
the riding.
Can
you can
you
do a
put a
riding
riding mower into the derbies?
yeah, you can
do that.
There,
Yeah.
one of the cool things
It's
about
bit of an
Wreckfest is that
idea.
they kind of don't really put restrictions on any of it, even if they should. So like you can
Right.
do like a riding lawnmower only race in a race that has like an optional loop to loop that there's no way the mower is going to be able to do.
Sure.
Because it can't get enough speed. And you can also like have a race where, you know, you're driving a lawnmower and everyone else is in school buses, you know, which is stupid because they're faster and they'll all knock the ragdolls are pretty funny, so you'll get hit and like get crushed by like 14 school buses.
I mean, that sounds fun. It reminds when you said Flat Out, I had a lot of fun with Flat Out. All those dumbass like human bowling ball, little goofy.
I wish they had more of that
mini-games
stuff
where
in this.
Yeah, so there's none of that in Wreckfest whatsoever. It's just the derby and the racing.
Yeah, there's lots of tracks
got
though, right?
Yeah, it's a good number of tracks, and a good car variety. I mean, you know, like I said, you can buy multiple season passes of cars if you want that stuff. But it is kind of banger race seems to be the main mode when you go to custom race, and so you know your car has health, but you're also trying to win the race.
Right.
And then derby actually has respawn, so you can just you know. You just get fucked up and get right back in. It's not like, oh, I get kicked out to the lobby and have to go reconnect or anything like that. So it just makes it more fun and goofy than serious. There's still part of me that is like, the scoring in this doesn't work the same way real destruction derbies work. But you know, whatever.
You're fluent in that scoring.
It is.
To a certain extent, insofar as it is, you know, it
more than anyone should be. He knows.
Yeah,
more
that
about
happens.
Jeff's an old school carny. He knows.
Yeah,
what's up.
that's as a carny. So my parents still operates a auto repair business, and here at the city, the town fair, not even the county fair, they will do a destruction derby on the last night. So my parents would give tires to a lot of the drivers, and they would spray paint the name of the shop on the side of the car and all that stuff. So we would go every year and see the destruction derby. And just, you know, over the years, knew people that drove in it, and all that sort of stuff. And so you get a feel for like, okay, like it's more art than science when it comes to judging a demolition derby. At least that one, you know, I'm sure there are probably, you know, different rules in different counties or something. But it's generally based on you need to stay active. You need to keep. If you're just hiding in the corner, they're going to go, that guy didn't do shit. Even if his car is running at the end. He didn't do anything, so he doesn't win. And they do things like they ban driver side door shots. Like don't drive into someone's door. That's not cool.
Oh wow.
And so
okay.
Yeah.
Don't
So it's like you'll see people
in
like setting up and back and driving backwards all the way across the arena, and then a driver accidentally or not accidentally, but you know, they're swerving at the last minute, even though it would be a really good hit because they're like, oh shit, that's the driver's side door. I don't want to fuck that guy up. That would be uncool.
Speaking of fucking that guy up, and people get fucked up, and do people get fucked up? Like
I got fucked up in a demolition derby. So Sony for like Twisted Metal 4 or something took us to somewhere in Central California or like northern Southern California. We got on a bus. We went to LA and then got on a bus, and we were on that bus for a long fucking time. And they drove us out to the middle of nowhere and put us in a demolition derby. And it was a bunch of goddamn game journalists who didn't know the art form.
Sure.
And
science, the sweet tooth science,
the sweetest science. And my neck hurt for like 3 weeks after that, but it was totally worth it.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's wild.
It was like that, and flying planes are probably the number one and number two dumbest things that a game company has had me do, a game journalist, but me specifically. I'm sure there are dumber events, mostly probably in the UK, but Actually, the Rockstar cocaine, the Rockstar like
It's
fake
always-
cocaine smugglers run thing was actually maybe
Right.
the dumbest thing. Like a trivia quiz, and then if you got the question right, they gave you fake bricks of cocaine, and whoever had the most at the end was the best smuggler. And you drove around the
Right.
desert in fucking
Oh my
Jeeps.
gosh.
In the UK,
Real
it's
stupid.
just cocaine. It's
Yeah, I was gonna say in the UK it's just do you want to buy a new stereo? We want to put the magazine, we want to put the game on the cover of the magazine.
Yeah. Here,
Yeah.
come to this awards party where they're doing coke in the bathroom during it, and this whole place.
I feel like that was the US in the 90s, and then
Right.
that at some point cleaned up and or moved up a floor, and I never made it to that floor, which is fine. But like, or just like it got to like a more executive level or whatever.
I got to that floor and was like, I need to get out of this country.
Yeah, like I need to.
I can't keep.
Yeah.
I can't keep up with this pace.
Well, let's get out of this segment. That's it for video games, and we'll come back. We'll talk about news. Got a lot of news. This Epic Apple thing. Whew. We'll come back.
Such a
We'll talk
thing.
about that and everything else for this. Now more than ever, it's critical to take care of yourself and avoid unnecessary trips to the doctor, chiropractor, and masseuse. Social distancing is having an effect on everything these days, and nothing is more important right now than keeping your body healthy and pain-free. So if you're sitting around suffering from aches and pains from arthritis, back aches, muscle soreness, joint pain, whatever, and you want to try a drug-free solution, then this is the product. You're probably hearing about it on a ton of podcasts, honestly. CryoFreeze CBD Pain Relief Roll-On is an all-natural topical pain reliever that ices out the pain with a 1-2 punch of super cold menthol and hemp CBD. You simply roll that CryoFreeze onto your back, neck, hands, wherever you're feeling some kind of pain. And it's supposed to help block that pain, reduce inflammation, improve muscle and joint flexibility, all that sort of stuff. CryoFreeze contains 10 powerful ingredients that combine to provide a powerhouse dose of relief, which can last up to 8 hours. That's longer than any other roll-on. You can try CryoFreeze today and learn why so many people have rated it 5 stars and have written so many letters thanking Omax for the life-changing relief they are getting from this product. They sent over some of this Omax. So it's a roll-on. You just roll it on like it was deodorant, but it's, menthol and hemp CBD and the cold feel of that sort of stuff. You can get 20% off a 1-month supply of Omax CryoFreeze right now. This discount also applies to any other product site-wide. Go to omaxhealth.com today and enter code BOMB. That's omaxhealth.com and enter the code BOMB to get 20% off Omax CryoFreeze and site-wide. Spring has sprung. That means it's time to maybe get back outside, maybe even see some friends again if things are heading in that direction for you. No matter where your adventures take you, you can bring the comfort and style of Mack Weldon along for the ride. And your closet is going to thank you. Mack Weldon's got hoodies, polos, tees, active shorts, all sorts of stuff that mixes and matches seamlessly to fit in with whatever other kind of trendy products you have. It's the Mack Weldon collection. They got some sweatpants if you're doing maybe some around the house stuff, but you can get outside in these sweatpants. They're nice sweatpants, I got some pairs of socks, some shirt. They got silver in this thing, like an odor resistant silver shirt to help with odors, which is nice. They got men's essentials, like I was saying, socks, shirts, hoodies, underwear, polos, whatever. Mack Weldon's got comfort and a consistent fit, plus some versatility. You can look great and feel great from working out, going out, go to work, on a date. Mack Weldon, as they say, is for everyday life. And it's a wide range of customized fabrics that can keep up with you no matter what your day looks like. And they've got a totally free loyalty program, Weldon Blue. Level 1 gets you free shipping for life. And once you reach level 2 by spending $200, you can get 20% off of every order for the next year. And there's a guarantee. Mack Weldon wants you to be comfortable. So if you don't like your first pair of underwear, you can keep them and they'll still refund you, no questions asked. If you want 20% off your first order, visit MackWeldon.com/bomb and enter the promo code BOMB. That's macweldon.com/bomb, promo code BOMB for 20% off. Mac Weldon, reinventing men's basics. All right, we're back.
Whoa!
And now it is time to talk about the news with your Giant Bomb report team. Oh, hello, hi. God damn it. Yeah, no, that's the rumble. The low rumble lets you know it's news time.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, is this?
You gotta turn
Is this
the
like
knobs.
a breaking? It's like a breaking news.
breaking
Vaporwave
news.
Yep.
Yes,
Okay.
we're breaking vaporwave here once and for all. Someone had to. Casino wave. It's all in now. Epic Games sued Apple. That's your breaking news. All right, thanks. We'll see you next week.
There we go.
All right, bye everyone.
So
hot off the
this is,
wire.
hot off the wire here. This has been crazy the past
Awesome.
couple of weeks here. I feel it is like just the dirtiest of dirty laundry, like stuff you kind of knew was happening, but to see it spelled out in business terms and all this other stuff. Kotaku has a really good page that is just like a breakdown of all of the stories they have written out of leaked or not leaked, but like documents that came out of the trial. The trial is ostensibly about Epic doesn't want to pay 30% to Apple for Fortnite sales, and they think that that's wrong for all developers, not just themselves. And so they are taking it to court. And at the time when that got filed, I think there was a lot of whatever, billionaire slap fight, whatever, who cares? But now that this thing is started, I like the whole industry is like in duck and cover mode. As all these documents got out, my favorite leaked document in this that came out of it is
the free
one.
games.
The free games one is very good. It's probably a close second, but it is the one. It is the one where Sony, as we know, had been super reluctant to do any kind of crossplay. And they had they basically were blocking crossplay for a good long time. I remember there being interviews at the E3 where this was relevant. There was things like, well, user safety is a thing we care about, and I don't know if we want to open our ecosystem up to other people. Turns out all it took was Sony coming up with a process for them to make more money and protect their rev share, for them to suddenly be okay with crossplay. And so there's a PlayStation policy document that came out as a part of this that Sony, as I understand it, has basically, if you want to do crossplay that involves Sony platforms, you have to agree to basically protect Sony's cut of revenue. And there is a formula here in place where they've got examples around basically, so like, if the share of people playing the game is really high on PlayStation, but maybe the purchases are happening on other platforms, be it Xbox or iPhone or PC or whatever, Sony is like, hey, you got to kick us some of that money. And that is the gist of it. And so they've got a formula where the partner has no obligation to pay SIE a royalty in months where PSN revenue share divided by a PS4 gameplay share is greater than 0.85. So basically, they've worked out a math problem where if your revenue is above this, but your user playtime on Sony platforms, the percentage is this, then you don't owe us anything. But basically, it comes off like this incredibly cowardly, overly protective of their platform in an era when the PS4 had already kind of established itself as a dominant platform of that generation, or Sony to then be like, no, on top of that, we're going to force this on you if you want to do crossplay to protect what is already going to come their way by virtue of them being the most popular platform. It's just fucking crazy.
I'd love to know how often, if at all, that happened, because it does seem odd that the money would be spent on another platform more than it would be on like if the per person cost, like Xbox owners were more flush for some reason and like spending more money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it could be that, like kids on, because this is specifically, as part of a Fortnite centered lawsuit, right? So, so it may be a case where like with Fortnite being on phones at the time, maybe you'd have situations where like that content was getting purchased there, but like people would only play Fortnite on their phone when they were at school, and when they get home, they'd play it on PS4 or something like that, or whatever. And so you start to wonder then, is this why games like Call of Duty and Destiny separate currencies, where if you purchase currency on a platform, it doesn't reflect elsewhere? You'll have like separate premium currency balances per platform. I don't know, like, what does that do to this? I just look at it as like, think about the trajectory of Sony through the PlayStation 4, through Gen 4, if we want, whatever, through this, of Sony out there being, we are incredibly customer friendly. Here's how you share a disc. I'm going to hand you this disc, blah, 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 blah. We sure do love gamers, to fucking, you got to play on our platform by our rules. And we are going to potentially take more money from developers by offering this thing that consumers are very much saying they want, that is very much becoming the standard now, for Sony to be like, no, we're getting our taste of this no matter what. It just seems like oppressive is a strong word, right? But like, to do that to devs, especially smaller devs that want to compete, and cross-play is going to be a great way for smaller multiplayer games to maintain a usable player base, to subject them to these terms just seems shitty.
And like this whole, there's so much stuff coming from this lawsuit, and it kind of reminds me a bit of like the whole Steam cut stuff as well, right? Where there's all these people who were like, want to fight for Valve, and it's just like the PR face of what you think about these companies and the reality of business do not exist in concert. You know what I mean? Like they're different things, and like, I think what's been cool about, well, not cool, or what's been interesting maybe, especially for people who don't work on the business side of games, I suspect, like like all of us and most people who play games, is like having a peek into that reality and being like, oh yeah, okay, like all this stuff is, the rules are different when no one's watching,
Definitely. And so that has been the fascinating thing about the lawsuit for sure. But then, yeah, specifically around this stuff, even, I figured, and maybe this is just naive of me, but like, I figured that eventually the pressure got to Sony and they were like, you know what, like the wind is blowing this way. Consumers want this. Like we are increasingly out of step with their desires, and we need to allow crossplay on these platforms. Fortnite and some of these other games are just too big for us to fight this fight. And hey, we're in the lead by a lot anyway, so whatever. Like we're gonna come out of this okay, even if we're competing on even terms. Like it'll be fine because we're the PlayStation. But instead, it was like, also let's make sure that we're gonna get a little bit extra if things end up not going our way. I think it's really, again, like to think back to like that E3 or that era when like you knew people wanted crossplay. Epic turned on Fortnite crossplay by accident for like that weekend or whatever it was. And you just had more and more people wanting it, and Sony increasingly being very visible as the company that was like, no, we don't want to do it. I maybe I should have just assumed that someone somewhere along the way figured out a way for them to make money. But I think that's just, to me, it seems cowardly on. Or like, hey, if they're the dominant platform, they shouldn't need to worry about that. Sony will be okay. But instead, they kind of tried to extra protect themselves instead of just.
I wonder if it was one of these like precedent-setting things where they were overly protective because, who knows what this, in 5 years' time, maybe it'll be a bigger, just the way when it comes to money, you're obviously going to be clutching your pearls a little bit more.
It is interesting though to see like the disparity between, what we understand as like the operating business priority of Microsoft and Sony when it comes to crossplay sort of stuff, right? Like, how did Sony not have the foresight to be like, this this will be mutually beneficial, where like you said, and it also goes to show like how powerful that messaging is, right? And how at that E3 where Sony had kind of Microsoft down and was like, all right, I guess we start kicking now, right? And doing the whole like, here's how you share a game sort of thing. It's a powerful thing, that messaging, and it goes a long way. But I'm more curious, like, how come, why wasn't the realization made? Where was the epiphany where it was like internally for them to be like, oh, okay, crossplay, that's something we need to stop being so adamantly against publicly. I mean, because it seemed like it was one day a switch was flipped, right? Whereas, as opposed to like this slowly easing off the gas kind of thing, maybe perhaps would have been a different received differently. But yeah,
I'm trying to remember how it went, because I remember, I feel like Sony used a lot of language of just like, it's the best place to play, which is, they like to say about PlayStation, PSN, and all the other stuff too, right? So, but I remember there being something along the lines of like, well, we have to keep our user base safe with parental controls, blah, 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 like all that other stuff. But like Sony kind of came into it late. And then when they did come in, it was like, it's a beta. We're going to check it out. We're gonna try it out here, see if this Fortnite thing is got legs. People want to play that elsewhere or whatever. And it had happened where, they were perfectly happy because Street Fighter 5 had come out by this point, right? I mean, so because the crossplay with PC was never a problem. It was only when you had platforms like Xbox getting into the mix.
I can't figure it out
that they directly compete with. They're just like, oh, we gotta keep people safe. I don't think this is the right. It's just the whole thing stinks, and it's wild to just see this stuff kind of out in the open like that because of how commonplace crossplay seems. And now you think about it in terms like, oh, are all those devs having to still agree to these terms, or I wonder if these terms are still in place through the PlayStation 5, or if that's been updated at all, or if Sony is still doing this. It's really pretty crazy.
Also makes you double think, maybe, I don't know, every email you write could wind up in a goddamn trial at some point.
I'm trying to think over the last 2 weeks how many different conversations and exchanges I have had with people at different publishers and platform this and that are just like, oh yeah, I'm talking to lawyers to figure out what our exposure is. Like a lot of this stuff got unredacted. A lot of the stuff got uploaded to a shared drive and then deleted quickly, but not before I think The Verge pulled it down and some other outlets got their hands on it. And then some of the stuff was redacted, and then basically you had every company in the world coming out of the woodwork being like, you need to redact this. This is crazy. And the judge being like, it's already out there. Like, leave me alone. This is already like this one about Paradox. We'll redact that one because it didn't end up getting public yet. So we'll do that. But every other company, as I understand it, has, and maybe not every, but I've talked to multiple companies that have been like, yeah, we've got lawyers poring over every exchange and all this other stuff to figure out what our exposure is, and if there's stuff that we need to preemptively go to the courts and say like, hey, in case this comes up, don't fucking say it out loud, or whatever, to kind of try to protect their business. So Nintendo's had like 25 pages of nearly nothing, according to this Kotaku story, because a ton of it was redacted, except for one clause in Nintendo's contracts about, guaranteeing that Nintendo partners, meaning third-party publishers and that sort of stuff, that neither they nor their employees are anti-social forces, which basically means that they are not affiliated with organized crime. Like, Nintendo does not want the Yakuza developing for their platforms.
Okay. Tough but fair.
I'm glad it's spelled out.
Good.
Finally.
And
really is
yet
spelled
Konami, and yet Konami puts stuff out there. Is Wargaming on there? Is Wargaming have Switch games? So that's
the detail to which they go into, they like talk about like captains, like it goes down through the ranks of different types of Yakuza. Like I learned a lot about terminology about organized crime in Japan that I didn't realize.
Yeah. That one was pretty good. And yes, Danny, you said something earlier about it, but yeah, the amount of money that Epic paid to devs.
Oh my god!
To
so
the Epic Game Store has been giving away games for, is it a year and a half now? How it's like since 2019, since late 2019.
Yeah. Some of these go back to 2018.
Yeah. And basically, this is like they want to acquire users. Like it felt pretty plain out of the gate that that they wanted to build their user base, because Fortnite wasn't doing it enough, I guess. The billions of people that play fucking Fortnite. So they've been giving away free games on the Epic Game Store, obviously with the hope that those players go on to use the Epic Game Store and maybe buy something. And so a document basically saying like listing a lot of games that got given away as part of that ongoing promotion, and how much the publisher or developer of that game received as a buyout price, and then how many people went ahead and redeemed it. And then Epic has broken that down into like basically user acquisition cost of like how much do we pay per user to get them onto our store. And some of these numbers are
download the store for free, right? Like that doesn't mean, like that paid acquisition doesn't necessarily mean like a lifetime user. It just means like someone downloaded the fucking app
and then clicked the button to say, give me Batman. And for that, Epic gave Warner $1.5 million. And for Mutant Year Zero, Funcom got $1 million. But for Honor, Ubisoft got $65K.
That's all.
For Axiom Verge, 80,000. Like Super Meat Boy, 50K, which Super Meat Boy been out for a while, like all that other stuff. Like I don't know what the right number is for some of this stuff, but god damn, some of these numbers are low. But it does put a price
on stuff, right? It does put prices on certain things that is a bit sobering, I think.
Totally. Yeah. And also it shows you the degree to which indies need to like strong arm publishers, because like some of them did really well. Like if you look at the user acquisition costs, only 2 of them are anywhere near $2, and it's Playdead and Matt Make Games for Inside and Celeste, which they got like 8. Apparently, according to this, Inside Playdead got 800K and Matt Makes Games got 750, and they didn't pull in all that many new users, as you would imagine. They're they're really cool games, but they're both like indie games. A lot of hard PC gamers probably already were playing or already had Epic.
They did not debut on this store. People may have already had them, all that other stuff. Like Fez is a pretty old game at this point, and they got 75K. Right? And 107,000 people signed up for the Epic Store ostensibly to get Fez.
What happened with Metro? They didn't pay them anything?
Metro says 0, but I assume that's part of some, like Metro was probably part of some larger promotion where it wasn't Metro exclusive to Epic in the first place.
Right.
So they probably got that money up front on a different deal. So I think the lesson here is if you're an indie dev and you've got these deals swirling around you, make sure you represent yourself and make sure that you're getting a good chunk of money. Like Devolver got 700K for Enter the Gungeon, which compared to a lot of these other numbers is pretty damn good.
And what you'll find as well is there's a lot of sort of closed groups within, especially indie game dev, where they share this information because they're all it's collective bargaining almost, right? Like because the lack of transparency with this sort of stuff puts people in really difficult positions. Like what is the use of Super Meat Boy in like 10 years after it came out for user acquisition? Like how do you possibly put a number on that? But at least
finding the right valuation is weird.
At least now they can kind of look at this, maybe the people who aren't in those groups, but it was super eye-opening, like the disparity that's here. I can't believe that 4 Honor number. That's insane.
I mean, not to mention everyone just sort of like seeing everyone else's business and just being like, oh, I don't, wow. Okay.
It's
a little juicy.
It's definitely definitely juicy. So, a lot of details about like, Epic paid 115 million to get Borderlands 3 exclusively on the Epic Store, but it seems like they made that back.
Wow.
Borderlands 3 did pretty well. There's another bit in this trial where Epic added the itch storefront to the Epic storefront, so you can download a store from your store. And then Apple lawyers try to turn that around to try to say like, oh, you got porn on your store, because itch is a very open environment. And like seeing Apple, who has not always been a friend to the game developers out there. Seeing them try to and a lot of litigation basically around like what is a video game, but in court, which is like total nonsense. Of like, as they try to walk through like Fortnite as like, is it a metaverse? Is it a video game? All this other stuff has been really crazy.
They asked what's a Kotaku at one stage.
Right. Yeah. Which who knows? What is a Kotaku?
All the bingo boards going off there. Here we go.
Yeah.
My favorite part was when Apple complained that Epic had 25 games in their top 20 section. Which is pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, the Epic Store is not great, and still is not great, but there's one of the emails that came out of this is an email from Tim Sweeney, May 2019, to Yves Gimmel and Ubisoft at large here, I guess. I'm writing to apologize for the shortcomings in our Epic Games Store implementation and our Uplay integration. In the past 48 hours, the rate of fraudulent transactions on Division 2 surpassed 70% and was approaching 90%. Sophisticated hackers were creating Epic accounts, buying Ubisoft games with stolen credit cards, and then selling the linked Uplay accounts faster than we were disabling linked Uplay purchases for fraud. Fraud for other Epic Games Store titles are under 2%, and Fortnite is under 1%. So 70% fraud was an extraordinary situation. Goes on to say, to stop the fraud, they disabled purchasing of all Ubisoft games, and basically the fault in this situation is entirely Epic's. I'm sorry for the trouble, Tim Sweeney, Epic Games. I don't know that I would say creating some accounts and then using a stolen credit card is what I would consider to be sophisticated hacking.
I can't catch them.
But yeah. But geez, I think the Epic Store is still very feature light in a lot of ways, and it still feels very cobbled together in some ways, especially for a company that made $9 billion off of Fortnite in a year. There's just a lot of stuff here that you just look at and go like, I don't understand why the Epic Game Store is not better. Like, clearly they could resource this thing differently if they wanted to. They're not broke. They're buying malls. They're paying hundreds of millions of dollars for exclusives and all this other stuff. It's just it's weird that the Epic Store is not better than it is, I guess.
Yeah. It's not great.
Yeah.
No.
So I don't think we'll see too much more out of this trial in terms of these types of leaks, because it just seems like now that this initial batch happened, everyone went like, whoa.
Yeah.
We gotta be better about this and maybe clamp down on some stuff. But I can't remember, like, it's dirty laundry across so many different companies.
It's just a grab bag of headlines, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just like, take your pick.
Yeah. And then that doesn't even get into the trial stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Has there been like a totally random company somehow dragged into this? Like all of a sudden, just fucking like Kmart got dragged into this somehow.
Right.
They're just like, look at these guys, Like,
I mean, Kmart went out of business. Are they a store? Are they a video game? Is Kmart a video game? Like, that's
What's
where
Kmart?
K stands for. Yeah.
But they tried to, like, Apple is trying to throw out the Microsoft representative's testimony because they didn't bring documents. So it's almost like, no, bring in more documents. We want you to prove what the sales numbers are. Like, everyone's just trying to burn it down, and it's crazy. I cannot think of a comparable situation ever. I don't know.
There was that one line as well where they sort of got because there is a lot of there's the sort of righteous argument for this whole thing too as well, right? Which has been the whole idea that like, oh, this is good for everyone if Epic wins this argument. But there was a line from the case where they asked, I think was it Tim Sweeney? They asked somebody. I don't want to quote it wrong, but it was basically along the lines of, if a special deal had been struck with Apple, would you have taken it? And they said yes. So it's like totally true. The whole idea that this is some sort of a,
and on the Google side, there was a situation where like they were offered a special deal and apparently said no, only if you give it to other devs. So it just it just seems so all over the place. And Epic wants it's money, right? At the end of the day, it's money. Like you can.
Oh, most certainly, yes.
Yeah. And Epic has tried very hard to try to position this as like we are fighting for all developers and all this other stuff. And you have a lot of other companies that have been in similar situations where they hate the App Store cut or they hate the 30% cut.
It's a bad cut.
Yeah. It's not a great cut. Microsoft has and not to jump ahead too much here. Microsoft has adjusted its cut for PC games to match Epic's 88-12 split from the 70-30, or as of August 1st, rather. Matt Booty put out a statement on Xbox.com that says exactly that. I mean, there's a full quote here, but they want to empower every PC game creator to achieve more. So on August 1st, the dev share of, or the share of Microsoft Store PC games sales net revenue will increase from 70 to 88%. So there had been documents in this trial implying that maybe they were thinking about doing this on Xbox as well, but Microsoft has since come out and said like, no,
people actually buy stuff there. That's
exactly.
I mean, that's the thing, right?
Microsoft Flight Simulator is probably a lot of those.
I just don't even know how to buy a PC game in a Microsoft store. I feel like if I had to do that, it would take me a minute on my Windows 10 machine.
You just type store into the search box, and then I downloaded the PSO2 New Genesis closed beta trial, the CBT, if you will, client from that store last night. Though that does not start until this weekend. But yeah, it's not a great store. There's rumors going around that they are working on a new store.
Yeah.
To replace that store, if not for games. And games now live in there's like an Xbox app that you can install on PC that serves as like your Game Pass front end, and also I believe will show games that are for sale too. So it seems like they're working on it. It seems again like one of those weird things about like, I mean, it's a store, just like you do it. But
I mean, that's always been the Windows issue of like, you download executables from wherever on the internet, or it's all here in this store. And that is just, I know it seems super basic, but that has always been the weird thing that they could never sort of wrap their hands around. Like, like to just somehow make a centralized executable downloader is just
like Mac had the App Store, right? So then it became and they have a pure walled garden when it comes to their iPads and phones. But yeah, you're right. It's like the Windows stuff, it always just felt a bit way more a la carte.
Well, also like the restrictions for what could show up in the Windows Store are bad because you're forced to package your games in a specific way and be on their CDN and patch through their patch process and a lot of stuff like that. So this new store, supposedly, if the rumors are true, and I didn't run this down to see how formed up this was, but it sure sounds accurate, is that you'll be able to kind of put more standard like Win32 apps or whatever into that store and host it wherever and patch however. So it sounds like something that will eventually be more freeing for devs that want to do things differently than the like, hey, downloading Spotify out of the Windows Store or just like a bunch of apps that are in that store. Like games are always kind of a weird fit in there anyway. They're much larger apps a lot of the time. They're they all want to go on your C drive. Yeah. And the patch process in that store is not great, but it's It sounds like the refresh of that store will be a lot more open when it comes to different types of apps and more traditional ways that developers are packaging up and shipping games. So we'll see how that goes. You want to buy a PlayStation 5?
Yes.
Too
been
bad.
Trying.
Too bad.
Oh,
Too bad.
You got
That's
them all.
not nice.
What happened?
Dang it. You selling them on StockX, Jeff?
Yeah, I am. I gotta no. According to Bloomberg, reporting from a Sony analyst briefing that was not a public event, Bloomberg has apparently the information out of that briefing is that Sony is telling analysts that they will be very tight for basically all of next year through 2022. They're expecting PS5 supply to be very tight. Here are a couple of quotes from the Bloomberg article. While reporting financial results in late April, the Japanese conglomerate said that it has sold 7.8 million units of the console through March 31st and is aiming to sell at least 14.8 million in the current fiscal year. That would keep it on pace of the PlayStation 4, so on and so on. And then there is a quote attributed to CFO Hiroki Totoki, who says, I don't think demand is calming down this year, and even if we secure a lot more devices and produce many more units of the PlayStation 5 next year, our supply wouldn't be able to catch up with demand. And that's according to several people who attended and asked not to be named as it wasn't public. So it sounds like analysts went to a non-public event and then leaked the details of this. But I don't think that's a huge surprise. But at the same time, not like it
Through
won't be easy
next
to get
year
it.
is kind of surprising.
Yeah.
I figured this year is also kind of be a bit of a write-off, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Considering they've sold more than they ever have as fast as they have, and it's still tough to find is pretty wild.
Yeah,
Good problem
and
to
that's
have.
got to be hard.
Yeah.
I haven't seen this kind of shortage since the Boba shortage
Oh,
in
boy.
California.
I got a friend that's
Oh my
sitting
God.
on like a good close to a ton of boba because he's
It's too much.
he's
It's
trying
dire.
to offload it. He's trying to offload it.
He's gonna get like strong arm. Let's be like strong arm robbery. Like someone's just gonna show up and take that boba.
I'm 100% sure someone might try and rob him.
That's
Yeah.
too much. That's a lot of like
I might rob him.
it's like material to move as well. It's not, it's quite space intensive, boba.
Mm-hmm.
It's
It ain't
tough
like
to-
Pokemon cards. Those travel easy.
Yeah.
Oh
exactly.
no, those do not travel. Oh boy, people are bringing guns now.
What?
They are
People are coming
Yeah.
strapped to targets to rob people to get not only their Pokemon cards but sports cards.
All right, cue up the national anthem. Can we just get that going? Can we get that?
I have a question.
Yes, yes.
Go ahead.
What is boba?
Oh my god.
Tapioca, like
Okay.
bubble tea.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Is that why
Boba.
there's a shortage of boba tea?
There's a here in
It's-
California.
why?
It's
What do you
running
call
low.
those on the East Coast? The bubbles.
I guess we
the
call
balls.
it boba tea, but
call it
we
orbits.
we don't shorten it to boba. I was under the impression boba was some sort of precious element.
It is.
like a
No,
Star
you're right.
Wars thing.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah, like
They needed it in
unobtainium
milk
or
tea.
something.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. No, I
is,
get
yeah.
it. I guess it's kind of popular here. It seems like it is literal currency out west. So
Mhm.
I don't know what to say.
Mhm.
Did I
It's hard. They
not
pull
to
them out
just-
of your pocket and they just fucking spill everywhere.
Yeah.
Hard,
It's like fleshy marbles.
Yeah. No, I know the consistency. It took me a
And
while to
that's
get over
why
that. but
I'm
a fan.
here to announce that we're putting boba on the blockchain. Digital boba.
Jesus Christ.
Digital boba.
And that's why I need to raise. That's why you're going to give me $200 million to get this company off the ground
Okay.
for 8% ownership. Sound good? All right. All right. So, not to just completely derail here, but Jan, the Pokemon card situation seems like I saw some targets just giving up completely and being like, "We're not selling this shit anymore" on account of people showing up with guns. Is that so? Is your Friday morning routine with your barber, is that shut down? What's the story?
So my barber and I, we planned a route. We're gonna hit up 3 targets before.
Hit up, huh?
Well,
Yeah.
I was gonna then say roll up, but that also doesn't help. Drive and politely wait at one target, and then make our way down the peninsula to 2 more, and then get away from there. But yeah, there's
getaway. I like it. Yeah,
I saw a video of like these 3, like maybe they were teenagers or young adults beating up on a dude for football cards.
Oh my god!
Like Panini
It's not
cards
even
or something?
football.
Yeah, exactly, Panini cards. Because like people will be lining up, whether it's like the night before or like 1 o'clock in the morning for like a pack of paninis, man.
Yeah. Pandemic really done fucked us up real nice, huh?
yeah. You want these top Stadium Club 91s? You got to come and deal with me, man.
Danny,
What
don't
are you
flash
doing,
those.
man?
Danny, don't.
Fuck is
don't.
that,
don't.
Danny?
I got a stash, baby. Check out my Lewis Hamilton.
Is that a Top Chef card? What is that?
Oh baby, turbo attacks, baby.
Is
That's F1
racing?
tops.
Yeah.
F1 tops. I got them off Amazon. Look at that MSRP $5.99. God knows how high that is now. I'm stashing the house with them. Don't.
Put that
Dust
between
me
your
or-
sheetrock.
What do you call it? I know. I
Hide 'em in
haven't
the
opened
wall.
them yet.
Getting your IP address from this call, and then
Just think how many Roman Grosjeans I got in here. You can't even tell.
Is that a blind box? It's like a blind box of cards, or is it like a little yeah, okay.
It's just tops for F1. It's actually they only came out, but they're for last season for some reason. But
That's cool.
yeah, looking forward to that. Look at that.
probably couldn't go take the photos last year because of COVID or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Last season's.
So wait,
season's
Jan,
stuff.
you're after these
That's true.
Pokemon cards because they're like super you collect them personally?
Yeah, I'm in it
Because he
for the
likes
game.
Pokemon.
You know, I like Pokemon. I like
You're just a
collecting
Pokemon
type of guy.
enthusiast.
Yeah.
Got
Pokemon.
it.
He's opening the packs and not necessarily selling the cards.
Yeah. I'm
Okay,
not about
because
that.
I've had a lot of personal experience. My best friend found boxes and boxes of Pokemon cards from the 90s, and
How
this
much
was
is
a while
friendship
ago.
worth, Jeff?
Well, I mean, you can't rob your best friend, despite
Oh,
what
you can't.
many people think. It's just frowned upon. But he had found a bunch of these a while ago. He sold a bunch of them a while ago, and then now what's happening? He's it's pretty much like the best investment he's ever made.
Yeah.
Dang.
It's pretty wild what he's kind of gone through. And he had like he had a bunch raided by what's the PSA company that does all that.
Those
Yeah.
folks are
Like-
super backed up.
Yeah.
Like
Whoa.
people
and
are
he paid more for the rush rating. Apparently you can do that. And a couple of them got lost in the mail and he had to like trace. I know.
Oh man.
He insured them for what
Worst
they were
case.
worth. And he was like a week away from like kickstarting that process with the carrier. And he finally got in touch with the people who accidentally received it. Took them a real long time to get back to him. I wonder why. But apparently all that stuff got straightened out. But yeah, it's pretty wild. He
Yeah.
is not
Dang.
a Pokemon enthusiast. He is a money enthusiast. And that is what his goal is now. I mean, and the great irony is he had worked at a toy store in the 90s and stole all those Pokemon cards.
Oh,
in the
wonderful.
90s.
Free money's the best money.
Prime pays. Prime pays.
Yeah.
He was like 16. And look, it's tough to argue with all that right now. I don't know.
Hot cards. I have a bunch of Magic cards that some friends of
Those-
mine came over in like years ago, and they played Magic at like 3 a.m, and then I went to sleep, and then when I woke up, they were gone, and they left all the Magic cards, and I've just had them ever since. And
Whoa.
Due to
They're
a
Cursed. They're cursed.
yeah,
due to a Post Malone,
Explains a lot.
the cost of Magic cards are also going through the roof.
Why?
Right.
What did he do?
Well, Post Malone almost flooded with the Paul brothers, flooded the Pokemon market, but then I think Post Malone was like, "Oh, I like Magic too," and then all these people are buying Magic cards now.
Are
Wait, how
people
could you
just? Is
flood
this
the
just
market?
Dogecoin? Is that what this is? Just people are investing
yeah.
for the sake of
yes.
Because
Oh,
like,
it
well,
It is
awful.
smash and grab. Like the idea of smash and grab scheming has I don't know. Maybe someone will write the book 10 years from now, but I think the pandemic has forced a lot of people into like kind of just looking around and being like, I want to do legal
Right.
crime. Like I just want to do crimes that are not fully illegal yet in 2020 and 2021, and this is kind of it.
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah.
short-term flipping of stuff. Is that kind of what
I mean,
we're looking at?
I think that mentality slips into the meme stocks and all that stuff too, where people are just like, hey, we can kind of get away with some shit right now. Also, it's like the early days of the internet, right? Like in the 90s. I mean, even now, where like there is a very large gray area of a lot of unregulated stuff, and people turns out people like money, so
Yeah.
It used to be that you could go register a domain for that a company would want to own someday and then sell it to them at some inflated
squatting.
rate. But now they just come in with lawyers and say that's ours now.
There's
Sad.
a part of like the Pokemon Pokemon card economy that I don't understand, because there's websites that will buy your bulk excess cards.
Sure.
Unopened or opened?
Opened. So like, say you got a
Extras.
bunch of
Okay.
yeah. Say you got a bunch of
Swapsies.
I don't know if for
Commons
swapsies
and just like stuff that's not really worth anything yet.
yeah. So they'll take
No
all
slammers
of that.
in there.
No slammers. It's just a bunch of Pichus and Magikarps. They'll take them, like give them all to us. Give us all your energy, and then they'll give you some type of kickback for it. The price has been fluctuating for stuff like that, but I have no idea how.
It's just like the Pokemon version of those like change machines in Safeway, where they're like, you don't want to do any of this, so just we'll take 20%, and you just pour all your coins in here.
That sounds right. It's the scale. There's some fuzzy scale math going on there.
I would always just
cards.
get gift cards out of that thing. Yeah, because you could get the full 100% if you chose a gift card instead of cash. And so there were enough things like Amazon or whatever. So if you just got an Amazon gift card, it would say, okay, here you go. The story I heard, though, last time we were talking about change machine scams was if you unplugged the internet from the machine so that it couldn't generate the gift code. But you choose Amazon, which is like, you'll get 100%, but it'll be on an Amazon card. You go do that, but unplug the network from it. It'll sit there and spin for a while and be like, we can't generate a code. So instead, we're going to print out one that'll get you cash. And it's 100% of the cash. We're not going to take our thing because we promised you that on the Amazon thing. I don't know if that is a functional thing. I've never actually done it, but that was the rumor.
It's like the free life at the arcade.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like the slug with a string attached to it. Drop it in the machine and yank it back out.
How many of these tricks do we have to say on the podcast before Apple pulls the podcast?
Like this is a podcast for crimers. We don't want that. I mean, we'll be
right here.
I think if we keep like committing verbal crimes and recommending like a lot of bad medical advice and stuff like that, at some point we'll just be like the next Joe Rogan. So like,
great. So then Spotify will
pick up the slack on it. Yeah, and it'll all work out in the end.
Yeah.
The video game, the World Video Game Hall of Fame has announced its 2021 inductees. This is fun. Wow. I always thought this was fun. It's run by the Strong, the National Museum of Play, out there in, I believe, in Rochester, right? Yeah. And they've been inducting
Twin City
since
of my hometown in Ireland.
Oh,
is it
very nice?
Nobody cared about it. Yeah.
Great,
that's interesting.
So they've been inducting since 2015, and I'm going to read you this year's inductees. Animal Crossing, Microsoft Flight Simulator, StarCraft. They have box art for the original.
Okay.
Same with Animal Crossing. With Animal Crossing, they're showing the GameCube versions, like the first one to come out in the States.
So it's just a series, maybe.
It's just that's what it feels like from the list here.
Yeah. StarCraft and Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego.
Excellent.
Wow. I had big dreams
for acapella.
Yeah. Yes. I hope that Rockapella showed up to perform.
Rockapella.
I had big dreams of going to worldvideogamehalloffame.org, but it is not showing up. The website's broken. So we could talk about the other inductees. So they do series, but Street Fighter 2 was inducted, not just Street Fighter as a concept. So I think they do pick and choose when it's like, hey, this is clearly the one that made it a franchise. And
And they're right. They're right.
And they're right. That is totally the right answer there. Yeah, it's and Mortal Kombat went in a couple years ago. I believe Doom and Pong. I feel like a lot of the usual suspects that you would expect, like Tomb Raider and some of that other stuff, made it in yet. But
this is where it gets interesting, because all the obvious, all the ones that turn up in some Hollywood mainstream movie, all the Pixels properties are in. So now we're going to get into the weird stuff. Like, like does like Just Cause make it in? Or I'm trying to think of obscure C games.
If you want to if you want to induct 4 to 6 games every year, which seems to be basically what they've been doing. So at what point do you run out of like the classic franchises? And well, I mean, Mr. Do isn't in there, so and I don't know if I feel like you could do separate inductions there because the games are so different, right? Like you could do Mr. Do, then you could do Mr. Do's Castle. You probably wouldn't do Mr. Do's Wild Ride. You probably wouldn't do Run Run.
No,
for being
they want to
honest.
maintain the integrity of
exactly.
End up
is
like the Golden
Hall
Globes
of Fame.
Is Burger Time in the World Video Game Hall of Fame yet? Is Bubsy? Like where are our heroes?
The Mount Rushmore, if you will.
Yes, the Mount Rushmore. Bubsy, Mappy, Mr. Do,
Hubert.
and the boat from Jaws for the NES.
One of the Gianna sisters.
Yes, exactly. Like kick those Mario guys out. The great Gianna sisters are going in. Let's see.
So there's a bunch of games that didn't make it in from this year. The finalists that fell short were Call of Duty, FIFA, Guitar Hero, and Portal. Ouch.
Portal gets in eventually.
They get in eventually. This is like sports where it's like, you're on the ballot a couple years in a row, and then they finally let you in.
And
unless
FIFA,
you do PEDs. Which one of these did?
There you go. FIFA, I feel like, is doing the video game equivalent of PEDs right now, right? I mean, just the Ultimate Team stuff is too hot for them to touch.
Little asterisk on their entry there.
Yeah.
And Call of Duty is maybe in a weird whatever. I mean, Call of Duty is in kind of a weird spot, I think. But Warzone is huge and all that other stuff. So I don't know. Put Titanfall 2 in the goddamn World Video Game Hall. Put 2012 release of Syndicate in the Hall of Fame. Also put original Syndicate in the Hall of Fame.
Back on board.
Miles Kilo. Put Miles Kilo in the Hall. First ballot Hall of Famer. Miles Kilo. Portal. What is Portal? What even is that? Portal gets in. FIFA, I mean, all those games eventually get in, right? That's
right. They all got a star on the walk. Yeah. And presumably downtown Rochester is just full of these joysticks. You can walk along.
Like all those guys come jogging out the street. Just
tripping up over.
They just put them near businesses that don't want people sleeping next to them. Like, here's a joysticks here, I guess. Like, great. Sony has made a minority investment in Discord. Seems like it was just yesterday we were talking about Microsoft buying Discord, but instead they're out there doing some raising. And there's a quote from Jim Ryan here. It says, "Together, our teams are already hard at work connecting Discord with your social and gaming experience on PlayStation Network. Our goal is to bring the Discord and PlayStation experiences closer together on console and mobiles starting early next year. Allowing friends, groups, and communities to hang out, have fun, and communicate more easily while playing games together." That doesn't sound like the company that was just like, I don't know, an hour ago we were talking about how they were like, we can't keep them safe. We can't tie into outer networks.
Now we'll let anybody talk.
Now cross my palm with silver.
That's right. I like Discord. I think it's a cool app. And
it's a heck of an app.
Yeah, I think integrating this stuff into consoles more directly, I think, could be cool. There's already like a loose tie with Microsoft stuff where like your Xbox game activity will show up on your Discord profile or whatever, but it's not a very deep integration. So I wonder if this will be more like we're going to have a separate tab on the PS5 dash that shows your Discord servers and voice chats or whatever as parties or something. I don't know. Yeah.
It makes more sense almost for Sony because they don't like to build a lot of this stuff. Like Microsoft, they probably have a whole comms division, which is like, no, we'll do it eventually, which is not right now. Whereas like Sony are, never going to
we'll just buy
the resources to do that. Yeah, exactly. It makes more sense.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, some games got announced. Lost Judgment, the sequel to Judgment.
Yay!
Yeah. That'll be out September on consoles, but not on PC. No PC version announced.
Huh.
Also, news that Yakuza is going to be turn-based moving forward.
Yeah,
forward,
this is
wow.
cool. So
Interesting.
it's like, so this is them being able to have Judgment as the action roots of the Yakuza franchise, and then that lets them continue with Like a Dragon, basically, as weird as Like a Dragon got. You'll be able to have it the way you want it. People seem to like Judgment, even if that PS5 version, maybe the lighting was off or whatever, but nothing but good news as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that turn-based stuff, that was the thing that got me to finally play a bunch of one of those games. It seemed like series fans also were totally fine with it. Like, they did a great job executing on it.
Yeah, in Lost Judgment, it's a cool looking trailer.
Yeah.
And then Nintendo
Like
announced, great, fantastic hair. We can just get more protagonists in these games to just have amazing hair.
But like old guys with like the hair of like a 23-year-old.
Exactly. Yes.
Like,
a lot of tonic being used or something. Game Builder Garage. Nintendo
cool.
announced this. This is out in June for $30. They are releasing some software to make games. Not quite WarioWare DIY, not quite Mario Maker, not quite a Labo, new Labo thing, but this is an awesome looking trailer for a game creation toolkit, and I'm super fucking pumped about it because I want people to make creepy porno games on their Switches.
it looks rad. I wonder how scalable it is. Like, I wonder if it's something we'd enjoy and also something that might be a kid's first, step into logic gates
maybe.
and all that sort of stuff,
Yeah, there was some of that with Labo, but Labo for a while was kind of hard to get, or took way too long to build.
I mean, you almost got robbed trying to buy Labo. So.
That was fun. That maybe something that's just software based would be neat for kids to take a dip into. Not just kids, everyone.
Yeah, I'm very hopeful for this. This looks pretty rad. I'll probably just play what other people are making, but you can make your own art, which is, I feel like, the key for those things. I always wanted to make a bunch of cool WarioWare DIY games, but I made like one or two and never really messed with it much after that. So I can't wait to see what people do. And they've got a lesson mode in there, so you can kind of learn how the tools work. And they've got just in the middle of the trailer, just says, "Learn to make games from the minds at Nintendo," which is a pretty powerful sentence to put into a thing. You're like, huh. Actually, yes, it seems like they know a thing or two about making some of this stuff. I would like to learn some of their philosophies behind that. But I got really high hopes for that, and it's out in June, so that's pretty soon.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's gonna do it for news. Why don't we take a break?
Yeah.
We'll come back with some emails and close it out here. Back after this, everybody. Stay tuned.
Oh, no. Whoops.
Okay, picture this. You're the hiring expert for your company, and what you really need is help making your short list of quality candidates. So you need a hiring partner who can help make your life easier. You need Indeed. Indeed's the job site that makes hiring as easy as 1, 2, 3. Post, screen, and interview, all on Indeed. You can get your quality short list of candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description faster, only pay for the candidates that meet must-have qualifications, and schedule and complete video interviews in your Indeed dashboard. Indeed makes connecting with and hiring the right talent fast and easy. Sounds all right. With tools like Indeed Instant Match, giving you quality candidates whose resume on Indeed fits your job description immediately, and Indeed skills tests, and on average reduces hiring time by 27%. It's a very specific number. You can tell they did some research on that. You can choose from more than 130 skills tests and then add your must-have requirements, so you only pay for applications that meet them. And according to Talent Nest, Indeed delivers 4 times more hires than all other job sites combined. If you're hiring, you need Indeed. You can get started right now with a free $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/bomb. Get a $75 credit at Indeed.com/bomb. That's Indeed.com/bomb. Offer valid through June 30th. Terms and conditions apply. And we are back. And now it is time for emails.
Yes.
If you want to email us, bombcast@giantbomb.com is the email address you can use to reach the inbox that I am looking at right here.
That's where I send them.
That's right. When you send an email, make it bombcast@giantbomb.com. If you're sending them anywhere else, fucked up. If you're sending them to your mom, I don't know, what are you even doing? Send us the emails instead. Much like Justin from Barrie, Ontario did, who says, "Hey, Giant Bomb crew, I just finished episode 682. Feels like a lifetime ago. And at the start, you were talking about the DARE program from schools back in the day. I also remember them sending home a fingerprint kit. My mother, who was also a seasoned criminal, took the fingerprint kit and essentially told me it was a trap, assuming I was going to lead a life of crime when I was older. My teacher, who was in charge of collecting said fingerprint kits, wanted to know the reason I didn't bring mine back, so I told her it was a trap. Did they fingerprint or try to fingerprint any of you as children?" That's something a lot of schools
did.
Yeah.
Yeah. See if I remember that.
Yes, like they disguised it as some fucking assembly with a cop.
Yep.
And I mean, when you think
they disguise
back
it
to
always as like, if you get kidnapped, we want to know who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to
find your
fingerprint you
body
for your own safety.
We're gonna dust the entire fucking town looking for you. It's like, no, it's just for all you future criminals out there. Is basically, I guess, I had not thought about this in a very long time.
That
But
is
my
insane.
goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I was I don't think I was fingerprinted as a child. Probably for similar reasons.
Sentences you only hear from Americans. I think I was
Seriously.
fingerprinted as a child.
Yeah, I'm trying to think when I gave fingerprints for the first time. I gave fingerprints. It might have
Passport.
been passport. Might have actually been.
Oh. No, mine is actually a crime.
Yeah. I feel like any
there's
crime
always that,
stuff I
yeah.
got into before then, I never actually. It was always like, the cop being like, "Oh, you damn kid," like that sort of thing. Like not necessarily getting straight up booked. Came close, but
I put my handprint on one of those like DIY for your like mom for Mother's Day vases.
Oh,
That's
Man.
a trap.
Does that count?
I think it's a trap. I think it's a trap.
that would definitely
Everyone
be in a
knows.
video game where like you saw like Condemned. I feel like you would scan one of those to get the fingerprint out of it. There's probably
Yeah.
technology that can figure that out.
definitely.
That's so.
Yeah.
Was the implication here that they can't fingerprint children, but if you just get children to fingerprint themselves, then it's above.
That's fun.
And they
I
built up a
don't-
database to protect children in case they're kidnapped. Like it was literally like the full thrust of it was kids are going to get kidnapped. It's hard, and there were high profile kidnappings
In Petaluma as well, right?
Well, yeah, actually,
was-
yes, that was years later for me, but
Right.
yes,
I was talking to
absolutely.
Joey Familia about that recently.
Yes, that was quite the local stir. That's a bad
Right.
way of putting that, but
Yeah, it sounded
yes,
pretty
yes.
drastic, but yeah, that whole fear of kidnapping kids was kind of like around, I guess.
yeah, but like in the 80s, you had like Kevin Collins and these other like big high profile kidnapping cases and stuff.
Right.
So they would use that to drive like you should definitely get fingerprinted as a kid so that the cops can know how to find you or help find you. And
Give us a vial of your blood while you're at it, and
yeah,
maybe some
we're just gonna
hair.
inject this tracking chip under your. Yeah, no, Yeah,
It
I
is
don't know.
so
That's
wild. That's
yeah. I
crazy.
think like saying it out loud now. There's definitely like, yeah. I
Because
guess that did happen.
it's not just the fact that you're like trying to make these huge sweeping fingerprinting sessions at the same time with these kids. You're like, this is because when somebody forcibly fucking kidnaps you and takes you away, like this is such a problem that we're doing it to everybody. Like,
Everyone, yeah.
that's crazy.
It's like
What the
imagine if
fuck?
you had the same sort
Way
of
worse now, but oh geez, they've got bigger problems to worry about now.
Yeah.
Oh my
school shootings and
God.
whatnot.
I
It's like
feel
Jan, I'm not
left
sure
out.
about this lower third. It's a bit.
Oh, okay. Well, I feel left out because all you guys are talking about DARE program and then cops speaking to you guys. I had a mime come to us in like the second grade and just talk about it to us about her dreams.
Wait,
and
the
then when the
A
mime started-
mime?
yeah,
Like
and
Mr.
then the
Mime?
mime started talking. Yes.
So it wasn't a mime.
Ah,
You said it was a professional
It
mime,
was
and it also
a
was
very
a-
bad mime.
I don't know. I guess the Catholic Church is fine with mimes, but not cops. Maybe I don't know.
All right,
Yeah.
pick
don't
your
talk,
poison.
so the Catholic Church doesn't mind it.
Yeah,
Might
well,
keep
yeah.
their mouth shut.
That's right. Keep a secret. Take it to the grave. Except for your talking mime, apparently. Ah, jeez. Anyway, John from Louisville, Kentucky,
Louisville.
writes in Louisville. With news of the WWE anime deal. This happened. Wrestling is anime. It always was. And the various A&E WWE biographies, multiple films starring current and former wrestlers, and even animated films featuring the Flintstones and wrestlers. My question to you is this: was WWE Crush Hour predicting the future? In that game, if you don't remember the intro to that game, Vince McMahon took over every entertainment network and puts wrestlers into any program he wanted. So will we finally see that Cooking with Kane show? And what show would you like to see featuring a current or former wrestler? This is like dark. Like, so, you know, listening to all these old podcasts of wrestlers from the 70s and 80s and stuff, talking about what it was like then, there's definitely a through line of like Vince McMahon has been acquiring footage of wrestling for decades and had this idea of like, one of these days we're going to have a network, it'll be something. And then eventually now they've got this network, and now also they're making all this other entertainment. So like, it's funny, I was just thinking about this like literally last night about how Crush Hour is happening, has happened, and it's a dark future. That said, what wrestler do you think you want to see on a show?
Oh my god.
There's so many.
I'd like to see a
possibilities.
Cactus Jack kind of like Martha Stewart thing.
Yeah.
Like, this is like a lot of his crafts, like his home
Yeah.
crafts, doing his,
Like
you know.
it's like Mick Foley does a bunch of woodworking, and then at the end of the
Yeah.
episode, he flings himself through it,
like
just
knits
breaks it all.
the table. Yeah.
It's like bang,
it's just
bang,
kinda
and then
like,
the
yeah,
roll credits. Yeah.
like
I
that.
I
Sign
wanna-
up for that.
I wanted Dave Bautista as Mr. Rogers.
Aw.
I feel like
Yeah.
he can pull it off
Adorable.
real well. The subtleties of being super calm and nice, but just give him like teensy glasses like in Blade Runner.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
very carefully unfolds as well.
Yeah.
But,
I always felt like the Dudley Boys came off as like Pawn Stars. They could just
yeah.
they could just slide right in there,
Or,
not
yeah,
even
or like
a wardrobe
Storage
change.
Wars
just-
guys. Yeah, just like Dudley's, like in the tie dye, like ECW
Yeah.
era fucking Dudleys just
Yeah.
showing up, just going like, Devon, that's a $50 bill all day long.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Let's do
it. Yeah, let's get these pitches off to Vince. I know a guy over there.
Ric
let's
Flair in
see.
any podcasts? Is he?
Not anymore. He had one a while ago, and
But that whole
I
thing
think
that happened?
I think he just got to a point where he was just, I've got drinking to do. I don't have time to record a
Right,
podcast.
yeah.
He's in too many music videos.
Right, exactly. He's in too much demand to do that. Ben in Sydney, Australia, writes in and says, I recently read that when developing the original Drakengard, Yoko Taro was worried the game's story would be too dark to be approved. So programmer Yosuke Saito went to E3 to pitch it to Sony. However, the Sony rep was so tired after sitting through a bunch of pitches that they approved the game without seeing it. Yeah, this story went around. That got me thinking, prior to current events, was E3 the primary place for developers to pitch games to publishers? Or was it comparable to events like GDC and PAX? With E3 being online now for only 2 years, are we going to see fewer titles from the big publishers in a few years? This process seems to be like ongoing, but there's definitely, I don't know. My impression is that even this pitch was like, hey, it's Yoko Taro being worried the game's story was too dark. So it's like not that they're pitching the full project to Sony. It's like there's, hey, we want to run this by you. Like we're doing something a little messed up, and maybe the rep being like, it'll be ever.
Yeah.
The thing I used to always hear from European developers, and maybe it was the case for Japanese, was that for them it was where they got a lot of their like US publisher business done because they weren't in the room so much throughout the rest of the year. But I don't know if that's the case. That was the case for Japanese developers or not. But yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense, especially like in that era and prior to that era when you had a lot of Japanese games being picked up by third parties and being localized and published and stuff like that. There probably was a lot of pitching happening around then. I feel like GDC is like pitch city in a lot of ways. But, I think a lot of that also happens remotely too. So I don't know that there's necessarily one spot where it's happening, but...
Well, there's so much PR happening at E3 that like really isn't the case during GDC, so that would make sense. And also, I feel like there's always more business people around at GDC as well. Maybe there wasn't in the past. I don't know. Maybe it was more developers at GDC in the past than it is now. But there's so many of the like parties or socials or things. A lot of them are like very much business focused or marketing team focused now, which I feel like wasn't maybe so much the case in the past.
Yeah, there's definitely a circus around GDC that like, because GDC, the show is, all the talks and all that other stuff are ostensibly focused at game development and to a certain extent the business around that. But yeah, the tents that have formed around that show are definitely like, hey, we want to show some games off to press because we're in town anyway. And hey, we want to do this and do this. There's a lot of stuff that is kind of glommed on to GDC. DICE is another place because that's Las Vegas, and people like to sit around and play cards and do business. So there's a lot of just like haphazard, drunken conversations that probably led to pitching or business or whatever along.
I wonder if a lot of the tech companies sort of easing into games over the past 5-10 years, like Facebook and Google and all that sort of stuff as well, created the necessity for more of the money conversations to happen in the Bay in a way that it maybe wasn't a little bit before.
Yeah, and that probably is a part of it. All right, JD writes in and says, my question is mainly for Danny. My father is retiring at the end of the year, and assuming it's safe, I want to take my parents on a trip to Ireland, the birthplace of all 8 of my great-grandparents.
Oh, Jesus.
As a native New Yorker, I have an innate disdain for tourists that stop dead in the middle of a crowded sidewalk to take pictures. So my question for Danny is, how do we avoid being annoying American tourists in Ireland? What should we do and not do while we're there?
Embrace it. Don't worry. You can spot you a mile away. You're wearing clothes that we haven't gotten yet. It's going to be decades before we get those Nikes. The best way to see the country is to get a car and go driving. Like, do your touristy stuff in Dublin, and then it's like I've explained it before. Ireland's kind of like the starting zone of a video game world, where like everything like seems like it's really far, but you can actually just like drive there in like a couple of hours. But it'll feel like a journey on the way there because the roads are all like all over the place. So it's a fun place. Like if that's a lot of people, so you might need a minibus or something.
No, I don't think. I think he's just taking his parents because that's where the great grandparents were born.
Of course.
So I think he's just taking his parents. Yeah.
Sorry, the implication there was that he somehow all of his great grandparents are still alive and all want to go back to the old country, which is probably not accurate. Yeah, if it's just the 3 of them, just feck about, go take a week and hit the coast and drive down to Kerry and. Don't worry about being an American tourist. They haven't had American tourists back home in like a year, except some that broke quarantine and that kind of pissed people off. So they'll be more than happy to have you there. Don't worry. There's not that much of a stigma with tourists back home. We're relatively congenial, I'd like to think. And hopefully, man, I'm hoping to get back in August. It'll be the first time my family's been back in, it'll be 2 years at that stage. So a lot of catching up to do, but they're slowly getting the vaccine. Fingers crossed we'll all be able to take our trips back to, just don't kiss the Blarney Stone. Like the locals piss on it. It's not It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
a thing. Nobody.
Well,
does that. Don't do it.
should you piss on the Blarney Stone? Is that
There you
a,
go.
you know,
Better question.
is that
yeah.
the
That's the annoying tourist thing, probably, to come
Okay.
back. That will, yeah, that might. You might
Should
get
I
thrown off
pour-
Blarney Castle.
do I pour Buckfast on the Blarney Stone to like cleanse it, or like what, you know, what am I?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to think what the worst thing you could do to the Blarney Stone. Probably be like put a Union Jack on it or something, you know? Jeez. Not to get
Yeah.
super nationalist, but that'll probably piss some people off, maybe.
Seems like
Some people
a faux
angry.
pas. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know who built Blarney Castle. It probably was the English. I don't know. Sorry, everyone in Blarney who I've now just called their national monument. Okay, I'm going to stop talking now.
All right. Let's see. Joe writes in and says, this is an emulator horror story. Back in 1999, I was using a Game Boy emulator and would occasionally get a screen asking me to pay for a license for the emulator. I was too young to have a credit card and didn't have a lot of understanding about licenses and emulation at the time. So I just ignored it and carried on because I just had to use it for emulating fan-translated Pokemon Silver before it came to the States. One day I went to fire up the computer, and there was the screen telling me I should pay for something if I'm going to use it, and that my computer will remain locked until I press the space bar 1,000 times. I panicked. My dad was pissed. I pressed space frantically and got my computer released from emulator-imposed hell. Do any of you have emulation horror stories? I don't know. That's even
You done got the wrong emulator. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's how long ago? I mean, you
99
found
is what it said.
you just found the most aggressive and malignant emulator that's
That
ever
sounds like
existed.
a DOS virus. Hit the space
I
bar.
feel like he
1,000
didn't go
times.
to Zophar.net.
Exactly. Yeah. It's or just like, I mean, I feel like No Cache GB would have been out by then. And that's really what you probably should have been using around that era. Yeah, I don't know. There was one guy who charged for just the Windows versions of his emulators, and if you were using Linux, they were free. But because Windows users generated the vast majority of annoying support mail of people asking why can't I play link cable Pokemon games, he made that version shareware. And I don't know if that's probably not the emulator we're talking about here. I don't know which one this would have been. But
Press the space bar 1,000 times
That's
to get
so
control of
funny.
your computer back. Yeah.
that's pretty good. Pretty good. That's that's what you get.
Serves you right.
1,000 times, because if it was 10,000 times, you'd be like, screw this, I'm going to figure out another way around it. And if it was 100, it wouldn't be that bad. 1,000 is an awful sweet spot.
Yeah, that's
'cause
the
you're like,
perfect awful.
Guess I'm staying here for 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I've played enough idle games over the years that 1,000 presses of the spacebar actually doesn't sound so bad. I'm just like, all right, whatever. Get past it. It'll work. It'll work out. It'll work out. Let's see here. Nathan writes in and says, "Hi there. I was thinking the other day about how confusing I still find the Xbox menu buttons on the controller. I've had an Xbox One since launch, and now I have a Series X. But whenever there's a prompt in game to push one of those buttons to like view your journal, I always have to look down at the controller. Is this just an issue with me? Do you find the menu buttons confusing?"
Yeah, it's like the hamburger or the whatever.
Yeah,
the
like I
other
don't
one
even
is.
know. Like what the fuck? Yeah, it's the hamburger and then the 3D cube without the cube part. I don't know what
Yeah.
to call these buttons other than start
Copy
and select,
button.
and I hate them.
They should have just kept the black and white.
Well, those were side.
Well,
those were buttons
those were
off to the
side buttons.
side.
Those
Those
were
were,
like-
up here. Those were like,
No, I know, but still,
5 and
like-
6.
yeah.
And it doesn't happen
yeah.
on the PlayStation as much, right? Because you kind of know that's the photo button because you
Right.
never press it. You know,
Right, and basically options is AKA start, and that's it.
And it's got a word written on it, so they can say push the
Yeah.
option button, and
Oh,
you know
yeah.
exactly what
Right.
that is, or push the touchpad, and you know what that is.
Right,
Whereas,
no one's really adopted the burger button.
yeah, I am in total agreement here with Nathan that like every time they just show the icon as a push this to access this, I'm just like, fuck, which
Okay, still looking down.
and that's, I think that's dumb. They need to put words on those buttons and just be done with it. It doesn't need to be start and select. I think it should just be start and select. Why wouldn't it
I
be?
can start and select.
Even if the start button hasn't been the start button in 20 years, just Oh, come on. Let's move on as a people to whatever's next. This is a potentially, I don't know. This is like a weirdly dark regulatory question. Pontus from Sweden writes in and says, if a regulatory body like the EU went out and made rules on things games were not allowed to do for quality of life purposes, what would you want them to implement? I personally have 2 wishes. So, I think for one, I'm like, I don't want the government regulating what games can and can't do, but let's play along. So here are Pontus's 2 wishes. 1, when finding an audio log, you shouldn't be forced to stand where you found it to continue to listen. You should always be able to continue exploring with the audio log playing in the background. 2, all games should let you quickly skip through the splash screens you get when starting a game. I really don't need to go through 5 screens of company and middleware logos every time I launch the game.
I feel like that's gotten better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want it to be better than it even is.
But I feel like
yeah,
it's
but
better.
that's part of the fast startup that Sony tried to do.
Yeah,
I mean, Returnal
that's
seems to have 2 versions of that PlayStation logo at the start, and then with Spider-Man, they made a big deal about like, hey, you're only going to see this stuff once, even it wasn't quite true.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, speeding that stuff along, I think is a really good one. But like that seems like something that hopefully we'll get to. I just want that stuff to be like skippable on top of that. Like, just let me button past it. But like, yeah, it almost becomes like a what are things that like a lot of games do that you feel like they should never do. I've been thinking a lot about where we are with regards to control schemes in games and how homogenized everything has become, where everything is kind of just the Call of Duty control scheme in one way or another.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously in shooters, but like, it seems like a lot of those concepts have made it out into even other genres, where if you go back to PlayStation 2 days before that stuff was so codified, every game controlled completely differently. Every game had a bespoke, ridiculous control scheme that made going from one game to the next really hard at times. But was that so bad? I don't know anymore. Now that everything just kind of feels a little bit the same, did we lose something along the way? And I don't know. What my actual answer is to that yet.
Or is fitting something new into that now impossible because we've given every button a use?
Right. Like, yeah, X is jump, square is reload. Like the triangle is going to be your change weapon button, like all that sort of stuff. That then, because so many games have guns in them, they're all going to basically have something like that. I've been playing something that we will talk about next week that actually does not control anything like that, and or guns and shooting and all that other stuff, and it's been a pain in the ass, honestly.
And we were talking about Returnal, right, with the trigger, how they did that whole alt fire thing. So that's an example of them messing with the formula. It does create that irritation, at least initially, to be like, I gotta rewrite this synapse. Come on, it's been like 15 years.
Right.
I don't think there's anything wrong with keeping those sorts of things like the way they are. They work. That's why people we're used to them. It's not like all of a sudden we're changing the gas and the brake, in a car and like reversing that or something like that. But, that's what's worked. That's what people have enjoyed. When I think about, what does a game do that I don't want it to do? I think the real thing is like games do stuff probably because they need to, right? Like, the thing you don't like is probably an unavoidable thing that has to happen. A lot of people would lament like, I got to move this boulder so the level can, stream in behind me or whatever. But like, that's why that's there, right? Like,
I was thinking about encumbrance stuff recently.
Thing, yes.
With the and Resi, maybe you can speak to this with the Resi stuff, but they do the Resi 4. I'm not sure if this is in the 2 remakes, but they do the whole, Tetris inventory system thing.
Sure.
In Resi 8. And sometimes you'll get a new weapon and it'll be like, it doesn't fit. But it will fit if you go in and try and do it. And I thought that was cool because like there's a world in which it says, we've computed every single version of this. It won't fit. But they gave you a little bit of wiggle room. And I feel like 6 years ago, they would have messed up there. It would have just clicked in right, or, wouldn't have.
Like there's auto sort like button that lets you just kind of make room for it.
But it was fun.
I feel like that's something I would love to have.
Yeah, for sure.
And maybe I would feel differently if I were playing the game, right? And but as someone who has not played the game and has not especially liked Resident Evil games, I think that stuff just sucks. Like, it's just this sort of thing that I'm just like, so I wouldn't mind. That's a case where, like, if there was just a, hey, let me toggle on a new inventory system that gets away from that, or let me do an auto sort that is going to just find room for this gun for me if it can, and do that. Like, but again, like, if I were actually playing the game and got way into it, maybe I would get back into that inventory system. But that's just never. That's always been a quaint thing that I look at and go, like, that's neat. I don't want to touch it.
It feels more like fan service in 8 for sure. Because you're also, just, like I said, yeah, and you're also carrying around like way other bigger, more encumbering shit constantly in that game that seems to not have to worry about fitting in a big case. But there were old Resident Evil games where, like, you would have the shotgun. The shotgun would be empty. You'd have no more ammo for it. You'd be looking at shotgun shells on a shelf somewhere, and the games would be like, can't have them.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
Got to put them in your pocket
out
first before you put them in the gun.
You have to, like, throw the gun up in the air, that would always bother me. That wasn't that in the remake too. Didn't like 2 or 3 have that still baked in, where, like, you were handcuffed sometimes, where you were maxed out inventory wise or whatever it was. I can't remember. I don't remember. Something recent had that annoying stalemate in it, but that's
having to have free slots to combine items in a Resident Evil game, like, and all that sort of stuff along the way too. Always, just like, I need to make a different healing item, so I need to merge this with this, and all that stuff it just wasn't why I was there, I guess. And I think that's, you talk about encumbrance. I think that's a sort of similar situation where, like, I don't like the style of encumbrance that ends up in Bethesda games, where, like, now I am moving slower and I cannot fast travel. It just sucks. I just like, it's just like, now it's this pain in the ass. Like, I gotta drop stuff. Let me be a weird hoarder and take everything back to town and sell it. It's not going to break the damn game. Or maybe, it's a Bethesda game, so actually maybe it would break the damn game. But at the same time, like, it's that feeling of just like, I'm not totally destroying the economy of this by being able to do this. It's just like,
it's always the most popular mod, right? The low, encumbrance, always the first one. Yeah, I feel like a lot of these are like rough edges that we've actually kind of gotten rid of. A lot of these, like the skip cutscene thing, seems to be fairly prevalent now. Like a lot of these irritations, like Resi 8 actually is a good example. In lots of ways, it kind of gets out of your way. It doesn't create problems in a way in which a lot of classic, like you're saying, like carrying the big thing, and they're just like, don't worry about it. We don't have to create our in-universe reason why this exists or give you encumbrance. Just it's fine.
You're here to have fun.
Yeah, exactly. Video game. That's a video game. That game knows it's a video game, and it's just don't worry about it. We're just gonna put typewriters everywhere. You don't have to worry about it.
Sometimes 2 right next to each other. Why not? You know?
Gotta choose which save
no one's
spot
been
you want.
in hundreds of years. Yeah, just typewriter right there. Don't worry about it. Save as much as you want. Ink ribbons, nah. Don't worry about it.
Ink ribbons are for cowards. Awesome. All right. Last question here from Daniel in Kentucky. I love games like Berserk and Robotron. My question is, what is the ultimate way to play these games? Arcade, hook up an Atari, some kind of supercomputer hooked up to electrodes. Spare no expense. I need the definitive Berserk and Robotron experiences. I feel like that's the spare no expense part of this question breaks it, honestly. Because those are arcade games. Buy the cabinets. I think if it's a spare no expense definitive experience, go buy a Berserk cabinet, go buy a Robotron cabinet, have a fantastic time. But
spend $6,000 on each of them.
I bet they're not that much, but yeah.
I occasionally will look at arcades cabinets before I just went and built my own main one, and like Ninja Turtles, the 4 players, like $4,000 for a 40-minute game. Simpsons probably close to that. And you're just
might I recommend the FPGA based open source project that does not currently, but will at some point here, from the sounds of things, will play Turtles. and probably Simpsons. And also currently runs the arcade versions of Berserk and Robotron quite well. And there are ways to rig that up in an arcade cabinet if you so desire. There's a JAMA interface for it, so you can plug it into a genuine arcade cabinet if you want to do that. Or you can just go buy big bulky arcade controls and hook it all up to your TV. And I feel like that might not be definitive, but it's not going to be thousands of dollars. And I like to play Berserk and Robotron on a PlayStation 4 controller. It works just fine. For those two things, for those two games in particular. So I think you go that way with it too. But the cabinet art is really good. Robotron's a really nice looking cabinet. If you want a good showpiece for your house, a nice Robotron cabinet, you could do a lot worse.
Something
don't go
that
down.
says I'm a cool guy.
Yeah, that's speaking of which, I got this NBA Jam machine in my garage, Danny. You still interested?
Let me talk to my wife.
Yeah, if you're still interested. Just,
Our conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not fun. I've really had a lot of those over the pandemic, going from one pinball game to at 1.7, now back down to 4. Plus the arcade cabinet. A lot of giving, a lot of taking, a lot of compromise.
I just want to get down to basically 2 machines. I have 7 or something here in the house now. And I just want to get down to the NFL Blitz machine that I won because it's a nice little trophy. It's fun. I like it. And Smash TV. And if the rest of them, go somewhere else, I think I will be fine with that. That's
what else you got?
NBA
NBA Jam. What else is on?
Got NBA Jam. I've got a Street Fighter 2 cabinet that is currently in pieces. I've got a Missile Command machine that is pretty beat up. Yeah, it's got the ball. It needs some work, but it is playable. I've got the Warlords cocktail cabinet.
Classy.
And I've got an Area 51 and a Ms. Pac-Man. They're not mine that I've been hanging on to.
Oh, the hybrid, the rare hybrid.
No, it does two. It actually is the Area 51, and I believe the what's the other Max Force? I think that hybrid. But yes, and so I need to get those out of here once and for all, and other things in the works to maybe move some of those cabinets to places where they're just going to see more action. That's honestly, nice. I feel guilty more than anything else about having some of this stuff because they're just great machines that are just not getting used all that often. So finding places where that stuff will get a little more use is pretty exciting. But yeah,
I feel the same.
Don't buy an arcade machine unless you're buying my arcade machines. Yeah, how many arcade sticks do you have these days? I mean, you're
over 10. There's probably 3 or 4 that are within arm's reach at any given moment. But a lot of them are downstairs in storage. There's probably about 8 or so downstairs, and then probably about 5 up here, I think.
I see one behind you.
Acquiring them. Yeah, there's one right there.
Yeah. I have like 2 of the when Mortal Kombat 9 came out and they did the sticks with that. I ended up with one of those that they sent for review. Those PDP ones. They're not even great sticks.
They weren't bad for what they were, but
yeah. I ended up with 2 of those. I ended up with like one of the ones they did for Injustice, and then those. I got a couple of the WWE All Stars sticks.
All Stars,
that we got, sticks. And then I bought a Street Fighter 5 stick when that came out, and so that's actually also another great way to play some of these arcade games on a Mister or some of these other, MAME or some of these other stuff. Like just go buy an arcade stick that's going to have a good weight to it and all that other stuff, and that can work really well. But all right, that's going to do it for us here in Bombcast land. Hope you're having a fantastic week. I'm on the countdown of about a little over a week and a half until the vaccine has taken hold of me and I am free.
I went to an A's game on Friday. That was weird.
Yeah, that sounds weird. Like I was thinking like maybe I'll get a haircut. I see friends of mine going to see movies and I'm just like, no, absolutely not.
Not yet.
But yeah, man, last 3 days or so have been real feverish, real crazy.
A little dicey, huh?
Yeah, a little dicey there over the weekend, but yeah, I don't know. We're doing all right. So yeah, it's crazy times. We got. We'll be back with you on Friday to relax and unwind with you here on the internet. And until then, have a fantastic week, and we'll see you soon with another episode of the Giant Bombcast. Or F1 card.